install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight. Join me Sunday nights at 8 p.m. only on News Talk STL.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Brought to you in part by Complete Auto Body at CompleteAB.com.
Driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune, one kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
Only in America, where we dream as big as we want to. We all get a chance.
Welcome to the last show of 2023. I'm Randy Tobler along with Jerome, and we're recovering from late night partying that went on till just an hour ago, celebrating the Mizzou Tigers kicking some butt finally when they got it in gear in the Cotton Bowl, and a resounding victory as it turned out. Jerome, how you doing? I know you were partying like I was till just an hour ago. Everything okay?
Everything is going fantastic. I'm looking forward to the show today.
Yeah, me too. We got a lot planned. We're going to talk with Carol Lieberman, America's psychiatrist, about the startling percentage of American young people that are they think Osama bin Laden got it right, and the indoctrination of our children as it starts ever earlier. It's just amazing. She's America's psychiatrist and the terrorist therapist, and she's a forensic psychiatrist, so it'll be a lot of fun talking with her. Ilan Srulovich, who's an actor, about a transgender legal victory in a professional sports association. Virginia Crude will join us a little later as well. Eric Robert, our own Eric Robert, here you hear him on the Money right after this program. He'll be on to talk about the year past and some interesting tidbits and pearls for your finances. I actually wasn't aware of one or two of them that he previewed me on, so a lot of stuff there ahead of the whole show that you'll be able to hear after this program. And then Gerald Celente at 8:25. Now, Jerome, I have to warn you. We may need to run into Eric's show, Eric and Bob Stockdale on the Money. We may need to blow through the top of the hour segment, the news. Once you get Gerald Celente, who's founder of the Trends Research Journal, once you get him going about the calamity that he believes every year, we hear about the calamity that's going to beset America. He makes Mark Levin in his most worked up moments look docile as a lamb. But I love talking to Gerald. We usually talk to him once a year around this time. And so a very busy guy this time of year as we talk about predictions for the entire year. And I'm interested in what you're thinking, folks. 314-912-1019. What a year we have in store, I think, given this political landscape, the weaponization of the DOJ, a pivotal election. I know, Randy, you say that every time. No, this is really serious. I mean, we're on the precipice of losing our republic if we don't reel it back in. And that's not to make a particular endorsement of any candidate or, frankly, party at this point. I hope that this year the American people will speak out loudly that they're not happy with anything going on with centralization of government, tyranny in many of its forms, including the Justice Department, the regulatory apparatus, that deep state, and so much more. Our educational system, our healthcare systems, a disaster. This is the year for us to speak, and I'm anxious that we'll be bringing it to you as well. Main decision: the Secretary of State there decides to unilaterally that Trump was an insurrectionist, just like an insurrectionist back in the Civil War era, and took him off the ballot. But before she keeps him on the ballot, pending the court's decision in that state. So lots of moments of truth concerning our electoral system by the party that wants to ruin democracy while they claim to be saving democracy. They just don't really want we the people to have a vote, do they? They'd rather pick the winners for us, and that's Joe Biden. And we're not going to have an opponent that is leading by leaps and bounds on the other side. We're going to determine who can run against Joe Biden because we need to determine that if Joe Biden has any kind of a chance. Don't you know? So lots going on. Jerome, did you see the game last night? We have to talk about it. Did you happen to watch the game?
Unfortunately, I missed it, but I heard it was a really good game.
Yeah, well, the first half was sort of pokey. I mean, it was slow. It was like 3-0 at halftime, and Ohio State, and back and forth. More punts in this game than Joe Biden has gaffes in an afternoon. It was a tremendous. And but then here's the problem. Here's the problem. You a football fan, Jerome?
Yeah, I used to play a little ball back in the day.
Really? Well, we'll have to talk about that. I tend to be a bit of a fair weather fan. I have to admit it. I mean, if the team like I just can't. I mean, what is the only team Missouri has left in professional football is Kansas City Chiefs, right? So a lot of people living in St. Louis, whether they're native St. Louisans, whether they're transplants. You're a transplant, right? From Chicago originally.
Yes, sir.
Chicago area, Joliet. Um, they may adopt the Chiefs, they may keep their hometown, team, but I've been trying to get after the Chiefs, the Super Bowl victory and everything. Oh, especially with Taylor Swift. My God, how can you not be excited about that? Whatever. Uh, you can't. Once they start losing, they've been playing such mediocre ball. I just can't. So anyway, bit of a fair weather fan. But the Mizzou Tigers had a Cinderella season, and they took it to Ohio State. That a great story about a Cinderella story, really, with the guy that I think was the leading rusher in the SEC, Cody Schaefer. He took 2 years up at Truman State, which is really sort of the brainiac capital of the Midwest as far as liberal arts colleges. A lot of smart kids there, but I mean, you don't think of that and it isn't. It's a Division II school, certainly as a sports powerhouse. But he put in a couple years there, was a walk-on in Missouri, and then the guy's tearing the league up, tearing the nation up in terms of his performance. And last night came through and had a couple of amazing runs and just one of these guys where you think he's down, he runs 2 or 3 yards, and there's this big scrum all around him. For those of you who don't know the rugby scrum, and then he carries the pile with him for another 3 or 4 yards. Just raw muscle, determination, power, grit. What other adjective can I use? I don't know. That's it. But and a couple of great passes with Brady Cook. So it was a great game. Now, Jerome, you said you used to toss the ball around a little bit, or catch it, or block for it. What did you do in football?
I was both an offensive and defensive lineman. I know you probably haven't seen me in person yet, but I'm quite freakishly tall, so that kind of came in handy when I had to block people and do kick return.
Ah, yeah, you look tall, but you don't look like your typical 350-pound, lineman. I mean, you look you look like a husky, substantial dude, but not. We haven't met in person, of course. How tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Oh my goodness! Wow, you play basketball too?
When I was in grade school, but I didn't have the hand-eye coordination for that. I was a lot better at being physically aggressive than passing the ball and shooting it.
Yeah, well, good. When they come for my gun, I'll invite you to be at the house when they
I'll have
come
your
for the
back.
guns. Okay, thank you. So I the more and more I really try to learn about inside football. I mean, I used to play at the Rams games in Bob Cuban's band when we played there a few years down there, and of course I was there involved in some of the medical care of some of the team members, spouses and stuff, as an OB. But I'm telling you, when you start to really unpack a football game and you start to look at what makes a great team and what has made the legendary teams, as a lineman, you have to get frustrated that the linemen, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they don't get near the fanfare, near the credit, near the celebration that the quarterback, the running back, because really, well, we saw it last night. Brady Cook had a very difficult time getting anything going in the first half and part into the third, well, deep into the third quarter, because they were coming in from everywhere. The O line for the Tigers just wasn't cutting the mustard. But then I don't know. I guess they changed some of their play call. My point is, I don't. If I was a running back, if I was Cody Schaefer, I'd be. Yeah, he's a great running back. He did a great job. If I was Cody Schaefer, I'd be giving the O line guys like year long credit debit cards to Ruth's Chris or Morton's Steak. You know what I mean? Or I'd be doing something great for my O lineman, because without the O line, how does a quarterback and running back are right? They're on the ground 3 yards behind their line of scrimmage, right? I'll take that as an affirmative, Jerome, because it sounds like you're a disgruntled lineman who didn't get enough credit when they were playing. I mean, that's where the game is won and lost. It's in the trenches, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I mean, I'm not. I know that. Yeah, I know that. We could say, well, you're biased about it, but I think it's really true. Last night there were a lot, but I mean, everyone has an important role on a team. That's why they call it a team sport. There's no doubt about it. But so anyway, well, great 11-2 season for the Tigers. That's great. Good to see. And now, so here's a beef I have. If you're the parent of a kid who's going to be going to play for Mizzou, for University of Illinois, for anyone, and they're really a superstar, would you please remind them that they're really not any more special of a human being than anyone else, and they need to not believe what people say about them. Especially these young kids are very, very impressionable. I have a real beef with the way one of the stars on the Ohio State Buckeyes, there's a guy's name Harrison, or I think it was Harrison. I don't know. The guy was standing on the sidelines. He opted out of the game, Jerome. Opted out of the game.
Wow.
The Cotton Bowl, national TV, important for his teammates, important for the brand of the school. He's on the sidelines. So then I asked someone, and they said, "Well, what happens is these guys don't want to get injured." Oh, got some violin music there, Jerome. They don't want to get injured.
Oh,
And so,
boo-hoo.
they're going to go to the NFL draft or in their portal or whatever. What do you think of that? I think that's scandalous.
Yeah, I mean, especially for my time, I played for nearly a decade. I didn't get to make it to the college league, unfortunately, due to an injury I had from a different sport. But it's a rough sport. I mean, if you don't want to get injured, that's understandable. But that's why you practice harder, you stretch harder, you work out, and you make sure that you know your technique so you don't get injured. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah, I mean, you helped your team get there. Your team is not the same team without you. If you're one of the stars of the team, an important position player, however you define that. Well, they're all important, but I mean, if you're a pivotal part of the team and you're clearly a standout, that you're part of the difference that team is in this Cotton Bowl rather than in the toilet bowl or in the nacho bowl at home watching other people play in the bowl. You know what I mean? And I just think it's what a put down and what a punch in the gut for the other guys that are out there. I don't know. They may end up, the other guys maybe end up being 10th, 12th, 13th round, whatever draft picks. And, Mr. Big Man on campus, I'm going to be a first round. I don't want to get myself injured. I'm sorry. That just took you from a Titan, from a gladiator, from a warrior to a snowflake. I'm sorry. I think it's absolutely, and you know what? Okay, I'm sorry. Here it is. I'm going to get on them. These guys can't have it both ways. These young men who are still developing in terms of their judgment, their responsibility, their, well, growing up, because the prefrontal cortex, that's the problem. That's why they're making the decisions. Prefrontal cortex, the judgment part of the brain, doesn't develop fully till 25 or 26 in men and women. My wife reminds me mine has yet to develop. That's another question. But so now they've got the best of both worlds. So you're a star, you're a great player. You can get this, what's it called? NIL, name, image, likeness, right? That basically endorsement money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pretty soon they'll be getting paid, through a more legitimate structure. Okay. So on the one hand, you can get paid because you're big man on campus, literally. And on the other hand, you don't have the responsibility to the team that got you to the dance, so to gave you that helped get the endorsement for the sneakers or the local restaurant or the local sports outlet, whatever. I'm sorry. I think if you opt out of the game, you should return. You should have to donate 3/4 of your NIL money. I don't know, maybe all. I'm sorry. And this portal stuff. Oh, I'm a big man on campus. I'm there for 3 years, and then 2 years, and then my third year. Man, I'm pretty much a star. Yeah, I think I'll just transfer out. I'm sorry. We don't have teams anymore. It's like if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. If you don't have loyal players, you don't have a team. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll talk about that at 6:45 a little more. We'll get your pitch on it, Jerome, and we'll get the listeners to call in 314-912-1019. But in a minute, when we come back, Dr. Carol Lieberman to talk about some astounding trends in our youth and their perception for bad people, for evil people, for just horrendous behavior. But they think it's okay because it's anti-American. What a way to end the year, huh? But we got to do it. We just got to call it out the way it is. I'm Randy Tobler. There's Jerome. We're the Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019-94.1. Be right back.
54624. The latest news.
When you saw Speaker Mike Johnson come into the speakership, he made it very clear. We have to secure America's border first.
This isn't about politics. This is about national security, and a secure border is national security.
The news you need to know.
I'm also here today to correct how the MAGA right has portrayed me for their political purposes.
And the place to talk about it.
Worried we're going to be stuck with Biden.
1019 and 94.1.
Right here.
News Talk STL.
Missouri Wild Alchemy is a local and family-owned business dedicated to providing consumers with high-quality cannabis and education. They strive to make customers feel comfortable and to help curtail the stigma of cannabis use by having a professional and well-educated staff. They're proud to carry products from several Missouri cultivators and manufacturers. Missouri Wild Alchemy, now serving recreational customers 21 and above, as well as patients. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit MissouriWild.com. That's MissouriWild.com.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit DornFoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. And there's nothing more dysfunctional than the holidays. Crowded malls, drunk relatives, and of course, the holiday fruitcake, who I refer to as my Uncle Bob. So join me and my buddy Joey B this Saturday, won't you? Hey, it's better than kissing Grandma under the mistletoe.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday evenings at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you this holiday by LiberalJoke.com.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s new country streaming now.
First Responders Children's Foundation takes care of the children and families the brave ones leave at home. Help us help them. These are the beautiful voices of police officers, firefighters, nurses, and teenagers who remind us that we can come together and create harmony and unity. Text BRAVE to 24365 to learn how you can help your first responder community today.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Who builds a boat with no clouds in sight? Who walks up to a giant and picks a fight?
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Crazy people trust in Jesus.
Dr. Carol Lieberman joins us now. We're going to play an interview that I had with Carol last week, if that's ready. Carol is a terrorist therapist, and she wants to comment. She commented a lot about and has written a lot about what's going on in America's youth. Here she is. As America's psychiatrist and the terrorist therapist joins us, that's none other than Dr. Carol Lieberman. We touch base with her once in a while. There's lots to touch base about. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. What am I missing here, Carol? Anyway, hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
All right. It's a little late for Hanukkah, but whatever.
It's okay. Thank you.
Hey, so a highly disturbing poll I saw on your Twitter, which is Dr. Dr. Carol MD, right? With an E on Carol, says this is frightening. Almost a third of Gen Z voters think that Osama bin Laden was like a decent guy. Like, what's going on? What's going on here? I mean, I think his views were a force for good, right? I'm struggling with this. Can you explain this? I mean, you know terrorists inside and out.
Yes, this is really shocking. The poll has found that 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds think have only 41% have a completely negative view of Osama bin Laden. The rest, more than half have either anywhere from completely positive to mixed and so on. And then other numbers are shocking too. It's 20% of young people, basically altogether, 20% of young people who believe in what he said and who think that his philosophy and all that is good. I mean, basically what it means is, it means a lot of things. It means that we are raising kids to become jihadists. I mean, that's the bottom line of what it means. And how we're doing this is by a few things. Schools, radical agendas in schools from kindergarten on up. We have Obama, who I call the terrorist sympathizer in chief. He was the most he has made this country. I mean, he hardly hides it anymore. But he made this country the most vulnerable to terrorism of any president. We have so schools, Obama, and of course, he controls Biden, so we have him as well, and they are just teaching the kids that, and really, it's an anti-American. I mean, it all goes together with being anti-American, destroying America, because. Recently on TikTok, that was the other thing. The other part of it is that China influences young people through TikTok. And so recently, there was something on TikTok. One of the influencers posted Osama bin Laden's letter to America that he wrote in 2002, which is basically his rationalizations for why he attacked America, all the horrible things about America. And so, and when that happened, some other people, of course, it went viral, and some other people started saying the same thing. They became groupies of Osama bin Laden. And then that extended to some people on TikTok, and of course, then it goes to other social media too, converting to Islam, converting to radical Islam. And, you know, there are some videos, for example, of women saying, oh, I converted and I'm reading the Quran and it's really great. They obviously missed the parts or didn't get to the parts that talk about, you know, what men are able to do to women, you know, how they're able to kill them, be violent towards them, all of these kinds of things if they don't like what the women are doing. So this is a really huge problem, needless to say. And America is more in danger today of being taken over by terrorists, not just the radical Islamist terrorists, but the ones we have created in our madrasas. I mean, basically, our schools have become madrasas.
Well, I was going to ask you that because, I mean, whether it's this poll where there's some sympathy with some philosophy of bin Laden, and I don't know whether it's specifically asked about, you know, bringing down America in the way that they tried to do on 9/11, but generally it seems like you say this is a general another chapter in the book of, hey, America's not perfect, the rest of the world's much better. America had slavery, and the rest of the world never did anything wrong, and so we need to destroy America, tear it all down, start over again, and do it like the rest of the world, which is delusional thinking. It's uneducated thinking. It's poor judgment. And I have another example. Did you see where Danica Patrick, the NASCAR driver, she was at a Turning Point USA event with her sister. She posted several photos of herself with her sister, and she said, and the text was, "Sister came to town to check out Turning Point USA with me. Dad replied to our pic with perfect daughters. We do love our country, so AM Fest, America Fest makes sense." Now, for that, we do love our country. She got scorched on social media. I had no idea you were like that. That's disappointing. Oh, wow, this is super disappointing. For a moment, I thought this was satire, that she loved America. And then I became more and more horrified. Another one, that does not represent America. I mean, one after another. Look, we can love the American ideal and the American experiment, but what are we going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because of a few young skulls full of mush that are indoctrinated into some kind of globalism? I mean, they're going to bring this country down. By the way, they'll never find another country with more freedom than this country.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've lived in France and in Paris and Belgium and England and those countries, actually, I mean, they certainly have more freedoms than a lot of other countries, but those countries have been taken over by terrorists. You know, the mainstream media doesn't show what's going on in those countries, but they have allowed reckless migration, like what we're doing here. And there are so many migrants from radical Islamist countries that they're doing attacks every day. We don't hear about that. And they're really they're raping women, and they're quoting the Quran, and they're saying, oh, we're doing this for Allah, and all of this. And these people don't know what Sharia law is, and don't know that terrorists decided 1,000 years ago that it's not just about destroying Israel and killing Jews. It's about global jihad. It's taking over the whole world. So these people who are marching in the street, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas and all that, they don't realize that Hamas, is coming for them. All the terrorists are coming for them.
So
and especially like LGBTQ plus, if they were in any of these Middle Eastern countries, they'd be killed in a hot minute.
Well, let me ask you this: as a psychiatrist, and the minds of a terrorist, you know how terrorists work, you know how they build and consolidate their networks. Maybe you know how they gather lone wolf terrorists abroad, like from Middle East, and they convert people here. What signs should a parent with a student at University of Missouri or Washington University or University of Missouri, Kansas City, you're talking to folks in Missouri who many of whom have children, who are not yet fully developed in their prefrontal cortices because they're only 18, 19, 20. And what signs should a parent look for that their child may be being radicalized? I mean, is a protest for Hamas and saying let's exterminate the Jews? I mean, is that part of it? And then what can a parent do?
Yes.
What does a parent do though to so you identify that, hey, something's going screwy with my kid. That's not the way I raised my kid. But then what can you do? Because I'm afraid if you come down on them the wrong way, that's just they're going to dig their heels in, and that'll accelerate the process. So what's the magic potion here?
Well, yes, and teenagers and even 20-year-olds and so on, or even Gen Z and so on, they do rebel. I mean, they do they don't want to do what parents tell them to do. So yes, that's right. But first of all, the first thing is that parents need to be looking for this, not just in their college kids, but in their elementary school kids. This is down to pre-kindergarten now. And they need to pay attention to all of the books that their kids are reading and all of the homework assignments, and because teachers are so blatant about, being pro-terrorist and anti-Israel and anti-Jew and all of that. In the literature that they give them, or the homework assignments, there have been stories recently about teachers giving them homework assignments about the Holocaust, but not like in a good way, like, this is a terrible thing and it's not supposed to ever happen again. Really strange, very, very twisted kinds of homework assignments. So parents need to start early. That's the first thing. Then they need to try to get their kids to talk to them about what they believe. And why do you believe that? And who said that? Where did you read this? And they need to start correcting some of these things. For example, showing their kids a globe and showing them how small Israel is compared to all the countries around them, all their enemies, and then tell them about the things that Israel did, even though their country is on a desert too, but all the things that they did with agriculture, with Nobel Prizes, with inventing things that they use, like technical things that they like to use. And where did what draw? I mean, I've written a book called Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My, How to Protect Your Child in a Time of Terror. And that book, it came out in 2017, won all kinds of awards, but it has never been more relevant than now because of everything that is happening in our country. And in the book, the first half of it is for parents and teachers, grown-ups, how to talk to kids about terrorism, things that you can do with them from the time that they're young to whatever age, bringing them to certain museums and so on, bringing them, certain books that they can read and just different activities. And then also doing things like with their young kids, having them draw how they're feeling. Like if they watch a news report about the terrorists attacking in Israel, draw how you're feeling right now, that kind of thing. The key thing is to get kids to express their feelings about whatever it is that's going on, not to stuff them down. And then, of course, as the kids get older, you can have more sophisticated or more, in-depth kinds of conversations. But you need to sort of, where did you learn this? Where did you get this idea that Jews are devils, for example, or that they're running the world, or where's all, who told you all this? And then and show them movies. Like I say, with 9/11, show the movies like Flight 93. Well, with these kinds of things, there are lots of movies that deal with anti-Semitism and movies just about Israel and all the things that they have accomplished. It comes down, their teachers teach them things like it's the oppressed versus the oppressor. And if you're not claiming to be oppressed, if you don't have as much money or as much education or as much, good things in your life, then you are angry, you're jealous, and you direct anger towards the people who you think do have this. Now, Jews are particularly emphasize particularly education for their kids from the time that they're, that they can talk. And so, yes, of course, there are many Jewish people who go to school for a long time and have, or not only professional degrees, but even successful in business or something because they work hard at it. And yes, but so instead of being jealous and angry, that should be a model. But the key thing is finding out about the teachers. I think all teachers who teach these kinds of things should be fired. Certainly just, with the best example of being the president of Harvard, who should have been fired a long time ago for a number of things. But it's not just Harvard. It's in other schools, too.
All right. So it's a systemic problem at this point, and it needs to be addressed early, needs to be addressed judiciously by parents. And Dr. Carol Lieberman has a lot of answers in the book, Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My. That's featured, I see, on terroristtherapist.com, which is one of a couple of websites you have. Another one's drcarol.com. And you can stay in touch with her at Dr. Carol, Dr. Carol, with an E at the end of Carol, MD, on X, formerly Twitter. Hey, thanks for being with me. I think this is really important information for parents to hear.
Let me know. I can't hear the feed. Well, there she is, Carol Lieberman. Super job of unpacking the threat to our children as they undergo the indoctrination by the crazy left. Hey, when we come back, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to ask that question. Do you think these athletes should be able to continue to get money from endorsements and maybe in the very near future pay, and at the same time opt out of important postseason bowl games? I don't know. I got a problem with it. Do you? And we have to talk about the migrant surge that threatens to ruin this country's sovereignty, our economy, well, the very thread of our fabric that makes us America. Along with Jerome, I'm Randy Tobler. The number's 314-912-1019 here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks for being here. Back in a minute.
Still all God's crazy people who brings the Bible.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
As winter approaches and we keep our energy-efficient homes closed, we are exposed to many different chemicals, molds, dust, virus, and bacteria floating throughout the air. Hi, I'm Everett Jones, owner of Jones Air and Water. Since 1995, Jones Air and Water has helped many breathe better and reduce allergens in their home and business. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit joneswater.com for more info. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water on the web at joneswater.com.
Hey, Colombo here with a great holiday offer from the cleaning pros at Zero Res. Just mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in the month of December, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. We trust Zero Res because they are simply the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. And just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871.
Look through your children's eyes, and you'll see the true magic of a forest.
It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. When they discover the forest, their imagination is inspired by the smell of pine, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet, the sound of birds calling out for attention. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating forest world. You are the hero in this book. This is a memory being made. This is what they will laugh about years from now. These are the roots, grounding and nourishing them.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Then look through your children's eyes and discover the magic all around you. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Take a look around. At least you got friends. Come on, lady.
Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, we were talking about the great Mizzou victory over Ohio State. So number 9 beats number 7 last evening. We were reminiscing. My wife was part of marching Mizzou back in the September of '76. One of the greatest Mizzou victories ever, when the backup quarterback was able to toss a pass right in the last few seconds, and then a two-point conversion. They beat Ohio State. It was amazing. She didn't even know what she was a part of then, because she's not a football fan, and the crowd was going. I mean, everyone on the Mizzou side going crazy during that regular season game back then. But now she got into it last night because obviously, having that history in her pocket was great. So, Jerome, we were talking earlier about these athletes that one of the problems with Ohio State last night, one of their great athletes, I forget if it was wide receiver or runner, I think wide receiver, decided to opt out of playing the bowl game. And what I've heard is that's because they don't want to get injured so that it hurts their chances for NFL, blah, blah, blah. But yet, on the other hand, they're making lots of money off these endorsements. I don't think you should be able to have it both ways. What say you?
No, I agree. I think it's rational to want to avoid getting injured. I don't think anybody wants to be injured. But when you're playing a contact sport and your job is to run the ball, your team needs you. You have to think about the entire unit as a whole and not just, your own anxiety or insecurity. And if you're training hard enough and you're practicing well, you shouldn't have that fear to begin with.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, forgive me for taking it to the big picture, but I think it's just another page out of this growing and ever thicker book of it's all about me. I really don't care about the team. I really don't care about, you. If what I do, if it's, if it hurts you a little bit, that's okay, because it's really important to me. I don't know. I just think we need a lot of ophthalmologists. I've said it a lot, and I'll continue to say it. We need a lot of ophthalmologists in America, because America has a problem with eye disease. There's nothing wrong with, of course, achievement and self-esteem because you've achieved something. And there's nothing wrong with that. A healthy ego is a good thing. But to think that you do anything really in this world by yourself, and not to acknowledge that, and to have some allegiance, especially in a fully team sport, like you said, contact sport, even if it's basketball, if it's anything. Now, on the other hand, I learned during the break that you're a championship wrestler. I didn't know that. Now that, I guess that's probably one of the most individualistic sports, along with boxing, that you could have, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you win, it's all about you. And if you lose, it's also all about you.
Yeah. Something exciting and accountability wise, that's very pure and clean, right? That's a good thing. But if you're a great wrestler, I bet you give some credit to your coaches and your trainers, right? I mean, it's never totally about you. If you're Steve Jobs, it's not about you. If you're Bill Gates, it's not just about you. There's always people helping you one way or another. Yeah. All right. Well, we need some help down at the border. Here's a Fox News report, clip 7, on the disaster that really shaped a lot of the reporting and is probably if not at the top, near the top of my story list for 2023, the year that ends tomorrow. Take a listen.
In Eagle Pass, Texas,
They processed 10,000 migrants there over the weekend, many from Central America, who see their journey as an escape, not from persecution, but poverty. So what's not helping? Well, images beamed around the world of an open border. Migrants taking selfies, encouraging others from West Africa, China, South America to follow their lead. And this caravan that did leave the Mexico-Guatemala border a few days ago is getting larger than 6,000, Brett. It's now over 7, I am told, now headed to the U.S.
That's Fox's William Lajeunesse. I mean, this thing is a disaster. We now probably, since Joe Biden has come in, we probably have another, 2-3 million people come in, and we don't know about those who didn't come in. But it gets worse, and I think that when you listen to Democrats, even frustrated Democrats in large city jurisdictions, you understand the pathology, the sickness, the absolute depravity of rational thinking that goes on in the mind of the Democrat progressive mind. And that's and my exhibit A is a Chicago alderman who is bemoaning the fact, you've heard the mayor in Chicago, the mayor in New York City, the mayor in Los Angeles, you hear the mayors whining, oh, we can't handle it. Well, you wanted to be a sanctuary city, bring them on in. It was good to get elected. That rhetoric was good. But when the rubber meets the road and you have to be accountable for your comments and for your policies, not so much. Then it's someone else's problem, right? But listen carefully to what this Democrat alderman, he's angry. He says, we have a problem here. But listen to the problem. This describes the Democrat mentality that will bring down this nation. Here it is. This clip 1.
Here, they plan to stay here. They'd like to have permanent housing. They need to support themselves. They need the ability to get temporary work visas. That's something that the federal government has to get out of the way for the people that are here and want a traditional path to a better life. That so many people in generations past came to America seeking. That would be the first step. The other step is an assistance in providing permanent housing for them. We have people living in bus terminals at O'Hare Airport right now. We had 8,000 people living in the lobbies of police stations. We have tents, which won't work, by the way, for a climate like Chicago. If you lived your whole life in Venezuela, you're in for a shock if you think you can live in a tent in January in Chicago. And we have people that seem poised on the brink of having to do that. We need assistance to get them into permanent housing and permanent jobs if they're going to stay here.
Yeah, we see people arriving and they don't even have proper winter coats. And that is just not even.
Okay, now look. I'm sorry, but this is absolutely untenable. We first of all unpack this. Teach your children. Teach your children now. Da, da, da. There's some kind of an old folk song, but I digress. Teach your children carefully to listen to every word, unpack it. In the good old days, we had to take sentences apart and we had to decide, here's the verb, here's the noun, here's the subject, here's the object, here's the adverb, here's the adjective. Diagram and take apart these sentences of these politicians. He said, we need to provide permanent housing. We need to provide, who's the we? Alderman, Democrat, Kamala, borders are, yeah, right, that's laughable. Joe, who's we? I don't think I'm included in that. Sorry, guys. I'm not obligated to provide, and here we go. So we provide permanent housing. Wow, interesting. Jerome, I don't know if you're renting or if you're looking for a house, or those of you who have to, because AI took your job and it's going to get worse. We're going to talk with Gerald Salente about that later. If you have to move, how's that working out for you? Or if you need to rent, how's that working out for you? Okay, so we're going to provide permanent housing through increased taxes or debt for if you live in Chicago. Okay, what are you going to do? Now suddenly they raise your taxes so that you can provide permanent housing for these illegal aliens. They are not migrant; they're illegal aliens. We're going to do that. And oh, by the way, let's make sure they have permanent. It's like, let's make sure they have permanent jobs too. Permanent jobs. They got to have jobs. And then after that, and then the anchor says, well, they don't even have coats. Well, I'm sorry. There's a simple solution to this. It's called deportation. Round them up. You know where they are. They're living in tents. They're living in schools. They're living in hotels. Sorry, you made a choice to come here and break America's laws. And if you broke America's laws, we have a one-way ticket back to wherever you came from. When are we out, Jerome? I'm going to go late here and get us in trouble.
Yeah, we've got about another minute.
Got a minute?
I'm enjoying your rants, though.
I'm sorry. America's debt is going to crush us. It's going to crush us. Our personal debt is now past $1 trillion, credit card debt, past $1 trillion. And we just keep taking on water in this sinking ship. There's nothing wrong with a person, a friend, a family, a community, a Lions Club, a Rotary Club, a church, a synagogue, yes, even a mosque, giving someone a hand up temporarily while they need. But we've developed this social welfare state now that can't even handle our own people. By the way, a Center for Immigration Studies report, we talked about it a week ago. 39% of Americans get at least one major welfare program. And what's the number for the immigrants? 40%, 50%, no, 55%, 60%. You got to shut the door. You got to close the perimeter. Don't let these people in. And if they get in, I'm sorry, send them back. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Elon Srulovich. We do have some good news, though, by the way. The markets are up. Okay, so that's good. Okay, there's good. It's not all death and doom and destruction. It really isn't. But we've got to get a grip on this country and our sovereignty. And we just can't let people come in willy-nilly and just take advantage of us and our programs just because they want to. Elon Srulovich is going to join us, talk about the Professional Disc Golf Association. What does that have to do to transgender? Stay tuned, you'll hear.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
We all know the healthcare system's broken. It's not about you. It's about the code, the bill, the 7-minute appointment. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I've developed a better way that restores old-fashioned values with a holistic approach to your healthcare. That means affordable, available, no copay or deductible primary care. And with my 30-plus years as an OBGYN, there's added value for women and couples. Whether it's a new or nagging problem, you need a second look at a troubling diagnosis, or simply want a trusting, relationship-based healthcare experience, give us a look at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Our mission is to provide exceptional, accessible, and truly affordable care where the focus is on you, not insurance denial and cookbook medicine experts. And with your membership, there's a number of perks, including hundreds of free meds, in-office ultrasound, common diagnostic tests, and more. Interested in seeing me or learning more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule an appointment or a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're here with Kathy and Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. Rob, people call you, you take care of them. What would you like to say to some of your customers?
Thank you, Vic. We just want to tell all of our customers we appreciate them putting their trust in us. We've had a really busy year, and we want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
So you know you can put your trust in the folks at Connor Roofing. We appreciate Rob and Kathy Connor for coming by. Go to ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
When it comes to buying or selling a home, you've got to work with people that you trust. It's just crucial. Mike Ferguson here. And when my wife and I decided that we wanted to get a cabin or a weekend home or a vacation home, whatever it turns out to be, the first thing I did was call my friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at 314-810 sold. This is too big of an investment to leave to chance, and that's why I trust Rodney and Jen, and I think you should too. Vic Porcelli, I know you feel the same way, right?
Yeah, Mike, no doubt. Here's the thing. You've been in your house for 30 years. You say to your spouse, my goodness, we don't need all this room anymore. Let's call Rodney and Jen Wallner and get the heck out of here, okay? They have so many home buyers approved, ready to go, ready to pull the trigger. They might even sell your house before it hits the market. And an astounding fact that the Wallner team sells 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor. realtor, nobody else you should go to or call than Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. Republicans blasting that decision by Maine's Democrat Secretary of State Shenna Bellows to boot Donald Trump off the GOP primary ballot.
In a social media post, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina described the decision as an egregious abuse of power, adding that he planned to introduce legislation to, quote, stop these partisan officials. Texas Senator Ted Cruz wrote in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, quote, Democrats love democracy so much that they will do anything to stop the voters from voting for their opponent.
That's congressional correspondent Edwin Mora reporting. Former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says Israel faces a greater threat from Lebanon-based Hezbollah than it does from Hamas.
And we're talking about a terrorist organization that has 150,000 rockets, and many of them are accurate rockets. It is not a tactical threat. It's a strategic threat to the state of Israel. Hezbollah has a terrorist force which is 10 times the size of Hamas's fighting force.
Dr. Oren told the Salem Radio Network Israel should launch its own preemptive attack against Hezbollah sometime soon, or else face the possibility of being attacked. Russia is paying attention to the political climate inside the United States. Here's BBC's Steve Rosenberg reporting.
The general polarization of American society, that is welcomed here in the Kremlin, because any problems that the Kremlin can identify in America, in the EU, in the West, that helps Russia. You know, you switch on state television here in Russia, and they're constantly talking about problems in the West, in America, in Europe, in Britain, social problems, cost of living problems, tension in society. And the more of that there is, the better, I think, for the Kremlin.
Russia holds its own presidential elections this spring between March 15th and 17th. More from townhall.com.
You all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you about a special lady, Leah from Ohio, and her Relief Factor story. One Sunday, Leah was sitting on the couch in so much pain she was literally in tears. That's when she decided to try Relief Factor. Just 8 days later, she found relief, and she continued to get better and better. To quote her, she said, "I am truly amazed at this product. Like me, who after 9, almost 10 years, almost a decade of low back pain, lost that pain thanks to Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. Get the 3-week quick starter pack at relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. It all comes with a feel better or your money back guarantee. That number, 1-800.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Contact Seavers JCB now to take advantage of Section 179 of the IRS tax code that may entitle you to deduct the full price of qualifying equipment purchased or financed during 2023. Add to that JCB's incredible end-of-the-year financing opportunities, cash incentives, and rebates. There's never been a better time to own a JCB. Call Seavers JCB before year-end tax savings and financing offers expire, or visit online at seaversjcb.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's INHSTL.com.
This is Christina Strait with Strait Realty reminding you, why pay more than 4? In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Strait, owner of Strait Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than 4?
Strait Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Let me ask you a question. When you think of the American Legion, what comes to mind? Is it our assistance programs that help the spouses and children of our fallen soldiers keep food on the table?
I'm working to help the families of our fallen soldiers know that they are supported and taken care of. I am the American Legion.
For nearly 100 years, the American Legion has been our nation's leading advocate for veterans and their families.
I am the American Legion.
This is today's American Legion.
To learn more, visit legion.org.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president. We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune, one kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
It's always fun when we talk with Elon Shrulovich about the goings-on in the day. And he's an actor, also a... are you a watchmaker as well as a designer, Elon? Welcome to the program.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me back on. So I design the watches. We have a team of manufacturers. So
Yeah.
I own a watch brand.
Really cool, really cool. So you're the CEO of eGuard Watch Company. All right, now... this crazy story, and it caught my attention because I enjoy disc golf. It's sort of fun, I like it. And then I saw that now, maybe in a precedent-setting event, a transgender, a man who thinks he's a woman, sued. Do I have this right? They sued the golf association, the Disc Golf Association, and they finally cried uncle because they were losing money. So they backed down on their rules. Tell us the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's pretty much what's taken place. You nailed it. There was lawsuits being pressed, and they decided to succumb and say, if you drop all the charges, then we'll just give in to what you want, which is essentially allowing trans people who've undergone at least a year of hormone therapy to compete. And so they're once again allowing biological males into female sports due to pressure, whether social, legal. It's a common trend, sadly, nowadays.
And as I understand it, I mean, they had a rule in place, and this is what this individual was fighting, that basically insisted that they had to have the previous rule that he was fighting, but wants to be called a she, was barring transgender people from competing in the Elite Series events and majors unless they'd undergone their gender transition prior to going through puberty. Unless, in other words, they previously said, okay, look, we'll let you do it as long as you haven't developed the phenotypic characteristics of a strong male who can throw that disc farther, right? I mean, there's advantages once they go through puberty. There's differences between men and women, even when the women go on testosterone. And the men go on testosterone. So I'm sorry, the men go on estrogen, and they go on testosterone suppressing medications. Yeah.
There's a huge misconception that people think once you transition as an adult and you take estrogen, or if whatever therapy you go through, that you somehow undo all the years of puberty and development that you had prior. You don't. There's a physical structural difference that takes place during puberty. When you get that boost of testosterone, your physical structure as a biological male is different. Your tendons are different. Your proportions are different. You cannot undo what has been done. And there's an unlimited amount of research on this. Shouldn't even be a controversial thing. This is hard science. This isn't something debatable, and yet somehow people are just they're trying to rewrite it across the board with everything to do with gender, but, when it comes to the differences between biological men and women, it's undeniable.
Yeah, it's, now they do, I think, express the Professional Disc Golf Association and another organization involved in the professional sport do, I guess, hope for some and maybe forecast that there may be some regulatory things coming down from a statutory standpoint. I think that's a long way off in the future. What do you think?
I agree with you, and I don't think you can rely on that. I think people have to take a stance and stick with it. They want to affect any form of change. Common sense stances should not be something that people are scared to take nowadays, and yet it's becoming more and more and more common to come to, whether it's, like I said previously, social pressure, legal pressure. You have to ask yourself why so many people are intent on deconstructing basic objective truths in society. And it's not just sports, it's across the board.
Yeah, it's it seems to me that common sense would tell people, when you look at the percentage of young people, especially in our middle schools and high schools, and sadly sometimes even in late grade school, the percentages now that say, hey, I want to be the other, compared to just a few short years ago, that doesn't, even if you're the most rabid Darwinian evolutionist, that doesn't happen. I mean, there's nothing in the water doing that. This is a social contagion. And yet you've got major medical groups. Almost all the professional medical groups have bought into it, And I scratch my head and I think these people should be smarter than that, shouldn't they, Elon?
I don't even think it's a matter of intelligence. If you look at what psychogenic epidemics occur throughout history, you have highly intelligent people just going along to ludicrous positions. And there's multiple reasons for it, but there's no doubt that in modern-day Western society, there are psychogenic epidemics taking place. This is one of them, an absolute denial of an objective truth that comes with severe consequence. Severe consequence to the point of putting biological men with a history of sexually assaulting women in prison with women. That's how far society has gone.
And we've seen in many cases where, there's really tragic assaults that occur clearly by deceitful men who were just putting on the act to get into the other bathroom or your dressing room, right? It's just, this makes no sense. You got to pinch yourself. You wonder if you're you're an actor. Do you sometimes wonder if this is all just a large stage play or something? I don't know.
Well, a lot of the time it feels like the Twilight Zone. You know what I mean? You look at South Park and you look at the satire that South Park did 10 years ago. It's reality today. We've become a society of satire. But it's more tragic because there's actual real-world consequences now that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But again, I really believe there is an identity issue in the country. I believe that people don't have any self-value. They don't know where to derive value from. And so everything is morally relative. They don't believe in any form of absolute or objective truth. There's no universal ethic. And so they just latch on to whatever the trend is that makes them feel important and makes them feel valued, which is why you see so many kids at exponential rates. 30% identifying as LGBTQ, IA plus.
Yeah. Where was it, at Brown University? Wasn't it 40% of the people? I think it was Brown. I don't know where. It's like at a major university, you've got almost half of the student body saying that they're non-binary, they're whatever. I'm like, I don't know, crazy. So listen to this. So there's hope. We're talking with Elon. It's Elon, right? Elon.
Elon
Strulovich, actor and CEO of eGuard Watch Company. Now, I want you to listen to this. You've probably seen this, and folks, you may have heard it, but this is, I think, a courageous Delta Airlines counter guy who was confronted by clearly someone trying to make a point, a transgender individual who, by the way, hangs out with, I keep wanting to say Devin, but it's Dylan Mulvaney. Listen to this. Oh, I thought it was going to play and it didn't. But the guy basically told him, hey, I'm not going to put up with your nonsense. He accused him of misgendering, and he was, she misgendered. She called me a he. And then he said, sir, look, come on, do you want to play the games here? I can force it. I have the authority to. Well, it's good to see people taking the risk, because it is these days risky in the corporate environment, is it not, to fight back against this craziness?
It's extremely risky, but until more people do it and normalize it, it will continue to be risky. It's kind of, you need people to open the door for other people to walk through it. It's one of the reasons I try and be so outspoken about it. You have to be able to normalize common sense. I've seen law enforcement. I've seen law enforcement do that too. Where they get someone's ID, they're like, and the person's saying, "Oh, you're misgendering me," and they're like, "Well, your ID says you're a man, so you're a man."
Yeah, right. I mean, you clearly look like and you sound like a man. You're not going to be singing soprano in the chorus at church this week. And, sorry, let's call it what it is. Oh, here's this sound now. It's fascinating stuff. Here we are.
And what about when adults employ misgenders you intentionally?
Sorry, while he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Gotcha.
Both of you have.
Sorry. Wasn't intentional, but if you want to take it personal, that's also.
Well, she did do it intentionally twice.
You're talking to me too.
You said she and then you said he.
You're being condescending, and if you want to continue, I have full authority to escort you out the building right this moment if you want to play that game with me. Okay. Would you like to continue 3 days before Christmas? I really don't mind.
I'm good. I'll just put this on.
And that was it. It was like, bam, It was over. And I think more and more people need to take some inspiration from that and be bold and call the truth the truth.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's also interesting how they'll use it as a weapon. How they'll use, you misgendered me, therefore you are obligated to now accommodate me and my needs. That's not the way the world works.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a really interesting thing.
Well, look what's happened to Canada up to our north. I mean, if you say the wrong thing, as I understand it now, I mean, I don't yet think they're up to criminal penalties, but I think there are civil penalties that are, it's pretty well established. You can get your butt in big trouble.
You can also have your child removed from your home if you don't, and that has happened. And I do believe they've arrested people.
Yeah, maybe, I think you're right. I think you're right there. Yeah, it's criminal. Maybe it's not a major felony, but for crying out loud, I don't know.
Everyone has to ask themselves what the end result is of this path that we're going on. So it starts off with saying, hey, why do you care? Why do you care if someone wants to be a man or a woman? Okay, I don't care. That's the truth. But then they go, well, now it's not enough that you don't care. You have to allow me to be considered a man or a woman in all aspects of society, of all aspects of civilization and interaction. I need to be accepted as what I believe I am. And if you don't, you're a problem. You're the enemy now. And so that's where it went very quickly. And then the next step is saying, well, why are we stopping at just gender? Why aren't we doing this with age? Why aren't we doing this with anything that can be subjectively broken down, which is all objective truth? And so it's not far-fetched, and there's been pushes for this, for the next thing to be age. And there's going to be a lot of disturbing people out there who are older men who are going to say, well, I'm a 12-year-old kid now. So now you can't tell me I'm not a 12-year-old kid. Why isn't that the next possible step here that nobody's willing to acknowledge? If anything, if a body washed up on a beach, the first thing I'd know about it is its biological sex. I would not know its age. Age is far more difficult to assess in terms of just basic objective reality than someone's gender.
Good point. Wow. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to try something. You just inspired me to try something. I'm going to go home tonight, Elon, and I'm going to tell my wife that this old, almost totally bald guy now is Tom Selleck. I'm going to identify as Tom Selleck. Think I got a chance of a snowball where of her agreeing with me? I don't think so. I don't think so. Hey, but you said that they insist on being accepted. It's getting to the point where that's not enough. You have to celebrate them right? They now need to be conspicuously put up on some pedestal as special people. I mean, and look, it's like, why is it that, okay, you just want to be accepted for what you are? Can I be accepted for the way I view you? Why don't we just have mutual acceptance here? Let's call it a day. That's not good enough for them, is it?
And why do we have to go beyond, fine, I accept you. You could be whatever you want, but I don't need to call you what you want to be called. That's not how adults interact with each other. If someone doesn't want to be nice to me or if someone doesn't want to accommodate me, I'm a grown adult.
Yeah.
I will function as such. I will move on with my life. I will not go out and start a tirade for you to have to acknowledge me the way I want to be acknowledged. People always go, well, what would you do if someone misgendered you? I'm like, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to call me a woman, by all means, go ahead. I don't care.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to a point where the right to not be offended is superseding the right to offend. And that's a very dangerous place in society. It's why it started off with all these safe spaces and, everyone gets a trophy. We can't let anyone feel offended. No, people should be offended in a free society. We should have that luxury to offend, not luxury, necessity to be able to offend each other, because there is no way to not offend people inevitably. And it's why you see they're taking advantage of our tolerance a lot of the time to kind of put us down and get us to self-censor. And I don't think that's a functional way to proceed.
I mean, truth be, if someone comes up and I make, in their perception, I make a mistake from their point of view, and they're kind and they say, hey, I'd rather be called, she. Okay, just because I'm a human being and I don't like conflict, and just out of courtesy, I'd probably say, okay. It's a totally different thing when you're talking about kids, though. And when you have adults who know better, taking kids with a mental illness and doing what they're doing to children, to me, I mean, this is just, this verges on the Tuskegee experiment. I'm sorry, it just verges on that. And what I like to think about is, okay, Elon, think about this. When people have depression, we learned a while back, you don't do frontal lobotomies right away. You do counseling, you do medicines. We're essentially doing the equivalent of frontal lobotomies, except in a different area on these kids. We're going to the most radical treatment instead of treating their mental illness. It's the most horrific do harm rather than do no harm thing under the name of do no harm that I've ever heard of. I can't believe it. And the medical establishment's bought in too.
Yep, the medical establishment might not have bought in; they're just bullied in. This need for identity politics, intersectionality.
Yeah.
What's going on in universities is really absurd. But yes, absolutely, I always say this: if your kid came to you and said, "I don't believe I should have arms," would you go remove their arms? Because that's how they identify. They identified as not having arms. It's a totally fair comparison, by the way, and there really is an illness where people believe that they have limbs they shouldn't have.
Wow.
That's a real thing. So imagine doctors, as a first line of treatment, started saying, okay, well, you're right. You actually are supposed to have no arms. Let's remove it.
Yeah.
The entire thing is a gross contradiction.
It's crazy.
Because on one hand, they're saying gender doesn't exist. It's a social construct. But on the other end, they're saying, but we're going to operate you, completely change your body, modify you to meet the standard that doesn't even exist. So which is it? Does it not exist? Then you say you're a woman. Then you shouldn't have to change anything about yourself. You're a woman. And then there's no such thing as gender, and even the term woman doesn't mean anything anymore. Or is it that it does mean something? There is a biological precedent, and you're trying to manipulate and change your body to be the thing you are not. They still can't answer that basic hypocrisy. They exist in both places at once.
Well, unfortunately, you're making way too much sense, and you're using way too much logic and too much recognizing truth and reality, and none of those things, none of them resonate with the progressive left. Elon Srulovich, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate the conversations we've had in 23. I hope you have a healthy and happy new year. Hope eGuard Watch does well. And we'll be talking to you in the next year, I'm for sure about it. Thank you, my friend. All right, there he is, Elon Srulovich. Really a compelling analysis of the world's problems we have. But, it's not all bad. There's a lot good going on. The markets have been looking good. We're going to be talking with Eric Robert. You hear him here on the Money right after this program. He'll be in the 8 o'clock hour, along with Gerald Salente, trends researcher, 8:25. Virginia Cruda next hour at 7:45. So lots coming up on the program. When we come back, we lost an iconic performer this last week. Now, Jerome wasn't even a glint in his parents' eyes when Tommy and Dick Smothers were making waves in the 60s, but many of you will remember him. Talk about that. And, Donald Trump on the education issues. Lots more coming up on the Randy Tobler Show. Be right back.
Heard the roar of the crowd. He could picture the scene.
Things are not getting any better. Hi, this is Sig Glockencolt from Tactical Shop in St. Peter's. I urge you to stock up on ammo, armor, suppressors, night vision, infrared lasers, thermal optics, and tactical gear at Freedom's Combat Outpost. Tactical Shop, just off Highway 70 in Cave Springs in St. Peter's.
I want to tell you about Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. This is a time when you reconsider, maybe making some alterations in your life, maybe establishing some habits that maybe have fallen out of hand and you'd like to get them back in. One of those might be taking good care of your teeth. And, that starts with getting a thorough exam. I would say that fully 50-60% of the patients that I see, new patients, need some dental work. They need some counseling. They need the education. They need expertise, either in just good preventive dentistry, some replacement dentistry, some cosmetic dentistry. Sometimes I hear about headaches that I know are because they're clenching and grinding. My friends at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, Dr. Megan Dwyer, Dr. Daniel Cusimano, they can handle anything in and around the mouth that affects your not only your teeth, your gums, and the spin-off effects from that, the muscles around your teeth. So lots of great work going on at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. I look forward to my visits there. I really do. I've been going there for years, and I'd recommend you get in touch with them as well. You can get in touch with them at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's advanceddentistrynow.com. Or call 636-978-0226. That's 636-978-0226. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
101.9 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Mark McCloskey, and I'm proud to represent my friend Mike Lindell and My Pillow here for the Christmas season. My buddy Mike Lindell is always looking for ways to solve everyday problems. His My Towels solved a problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft. When you get them home, they won't dry you. That's why he made My Towels. They actually work. They're soft and they absorb. And now My Pillow is excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Sherpa cotton. This is a comb ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sales price as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code ONFIRE, or call 800-645-1392. You get Mike's designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. Just go to mypillow.com and use promo code ONFIRE. This offer won't last, so please order now.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. We have an exciting new training opportunity available for public school and Christian school teachers. The Herzog Foundation Institute has partnered with the Bill of Rights Institute to offer 4 training events in 4 Missouri cities this year. These day-long professional development opportunities are best suited for middle and high school civics, government, U.S. history, and social studies teachers. Middle and high school teachers have a unique opportunity to strengthen civic knowledge and values for the next generation. We want to help teachers seize this opportunity.
Visit herzogfoundation.com/events to learn more and register for a Bill of Rights Institute training event near you. herzogfoundation.com/events. herzogfoundation.com/events.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Welcome back. It's 729. Numbers 314-912-1019 if you'd like to weigh in on the show. Hope your Christmas was good. Hope that Santa was good to you. You didn't get a lump of coal in your stocking. You know, we talk a lot about negative news, and it is a tough, troubled time in America. But then just about the time that you're ready to say, my goodness, it's just going to, where in a handbasket, something really cool happens. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't take much to make you feel good when things are going so south, But I had the best Christmas present in a long time. My wife always comes up with great, great Christmas presents for me. I'm not near as creative. Not near as creative. She wanted she wanted one of these weighted blankets. I didn't understand weighted blanket. She'd mentioned it, and then we actually did our Christmas with the kids and grandkids from, one son and daughter-in-law in Arlington near the swamp there, and they drove in week before Christmas. And my son-in-law, who's training at Fort Liberty in North Carolina, and my daughter drove in from North Carolina. It used to be Fort Bragg, but God forbid we call it, the name of a Confederate general. It had to be changed, And so they drove in. Anyway, we had this Christmas, and I went to the back of the car for one of the kids and to either get something out or put something in their car. And I went to move this blanket. It looked like a blanket, but it was heavy. And I thought, oh, wow, they got a leak in the sunroof. It got wet. What's going on? No, it was a weighted blanket. I don't understand the whole weighted blanket thing, but guys, if you're snuggling up next to your girl, sleeping in this morning, or maybe you're having coffee with your favorite girl, ask her about weighted blanket and just tell me if you don't get this in return. Oh, I feel like I'm getting a hug. I feel like I'm getting a hug. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Now, I used her weighted blanket. She was thrilled about the weighted blanket. That's good. My wife, I gave her a weighted blanket. I had a little like a 24-hour virus on Christmas Day, of all things. I woke up Christmas morning and I'm like, man, has all this just gorging on, my wife's a holistic nutritionist, and we eat so well, so healthily, and it's so great because she's a culinary expert as well. So you combine knowing what's healthy for us and then knowing how to make it just pop with taste explosion. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, not only on that front, but so many other fronts. But at any rate, so I get her the weighted blanket. I come down with the virus. The good news about getting a virus on Christmas Day with my wife, she was unhappy about that, and I was unhappy too, because she had a big meal planned that we didn't. We do once a year. Once a year we do lobster. It's the only time we do lobster. She gets a lobster tail, and we do that for Christmas. If or whenever it's just she and I and the kids aren't around. And we do a lobster tail and really nice salad, a little Rich and Charlie salad she makes, and then nice glass of wine, So we did that the next night. But anyway, Jerome, I don't know about you, but one of the tough things in life that us guys have to do is to sit through Hallmark movies. I was lucky enough that I had the virus. She offered me her weighted blanket because I had a little fever. It only 24 hours. I took some Airborne, some NyQuil, got a good sleep, took a little extra vitamin C. Everything was good. So I was able to sleep through. And then she had like a Hallmark fest. And she didn't have to hear me call out the plot before we were 5 minutes into the movie, because they're all the same plot. You know what I mean about the Hallmark thing, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You always know when the gal, usually, I think, the classic Hallmark is the guy, the gal has the snotty, arrogant, guy who thinks he's hot stuff. Probably one of the football players who sits out on the bowl game. One of those kind of guys. And then the one I remember is, she's with him and they're at the riding stable and she's riding and getting her horse ready. Oh, and you can tell early on, she looks across the stable and there's a guy in, usually a plaid shirt and jeans, and he's cleaning out the horse stall. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That you know how this is going to end up, right? Or translate that to the restaurant scene. She's with the front of the house guy that's welcoming people, and he's Mr. Snazzy that talks with the bow tie, and then she goes back to the kitchen to return a dish or something, and she connects with one of the line cooks, the guy that's, maybe preparing the salad. You know where this is going to go. That's how it's going to end up. And it's just, I ruin it for her every time. I'm like, honey, why do you watch these things? You know what's good. You know what I mean, right, Jerome?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the most formulaic, predictable thing. And yet every single time, my mom and my girlfriend both, they're just like, I couldn't believe that was going to happen. It's like everybody else could, though. I don't get it.
Yeah. Now, does your girlfriend like the weighted blanket idea? Is that a cool thing for her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, the one we had was dog-sized, but I know she's going to want one for New Year's especially, so that's going to be on the list now.
Yeah. Well, it's, it's one of those things. It's not too awfully expensive, and I think we're going to see how it works out, because there's like these little millimeter glass beads that are sewn into these things. And I'm wondering, the first time you put this in the wash, you're going to end up with a bunch of, pockets in this quilt-like structure that with clumped up beads in one corner. I don't know how that's all going to work. We'll have to see. So where was I going with this? Oh, at any rate. So, yeah, it was about the weighted blanket. All right, let's, so Tommy Smothers. Oh, no, I was going to go to, here's the good thing. The best gift. You know what my wife did for me? I'm going to show you here on the Rumble and the Facebook. You see that ring, class ring from my, I wear this ring from my med school to remind me of the wonderful time I had in med school, learning about how the body works and how it breaks and how we can fix it, and the art of diagnosis and everything. It reminds me of that time, and to stay diligent to those processes that we learn. But I had worn my class ring and must have, I don't know, working around the compound, the farm, maybe, I don't know, but I scraped away the inset in there. And it was all rugged, and it was just looked terrible. It was from a company called Jostens. They make class rings for everyone, And this is what, for 35 years old. How many years old? 35, 38 years old. And so I didn't know what to do with it. She said, boy, that's ugly. Take it off. Give it to me. I was so dumb. I didn't even realize that over the summer. She said, you can't be wearing that. It just looks ugly. It's all scraped up and everything. All the while, she was working to get this thing repaired. This is the best Christmas present ever. You know why? It didn't cost her anything, which is great. It didn't cost us anything. And this company, Jostens, you all know it if you've gotten class rings personally or for your kids. They repaired this thing free of charge. And it's like, this wasn't bought last year. And where I'm going with this is, just about the time you lose faith in America and in the way this country's going, a company with a solid brand makes a nice business gesture and does a good thing. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. And they didn't do it free to me, so I would give them a shout out because I'm on the radio. My wife did this behind the scenes. I'm sure they would do it for anyone. My point is, they deserve a shout out because they did the right thing. They didn't have to do that. They could have charged her a good bunch of money. Let's play another feel-good thing. For those of you who remember, Tommy and Dick Smothers had a variety show when variety shows were big back in the 60s. Tommy Smothers died. He was the guy that played dumb, but he was dumb like a fox in real life. Smart guy. And he and Dick just had a fabulous 1-2 punch in their act there. Tommy was the comedian. Dick was the straight man. Here's a little bit of Tommy playing dumb.
Well, Tommy, here we are. It's the night before Christmas.
I know it is. And I know all around the country there are people out there eagerly waiting for Santa Claus, as they gaily place Christmas packages under the trees and singing all the traditional Christmas songs.
That's
and
right.
Drinking the traditional Christmas drinks,
That's
Tom
right.
and Dickies.
That's right.
Probably having a big time.
No,
doing
Tommy,
that.
Tom and Jerry's. You made a mistake. It's Tom and Jerry's.
It's Tom and Dickies.
Jerry's. Tom and Jerry's.
I'm just trying to give you a plug.
I don't need a plug. I don't care if it's Tom and Jerry's. You know what I want from you?
What?
I want you to tell this traditional poem you said you were going to say. This is Christmas Eve, and you're going to tell everybody a traditional poem.
Okay.
Christmas poem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls and friends, I would like to recite a poem by heart and by memory, the traditional Christmas poem at this time, and I quote it. Here it goes.
Okay, go ahead.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. When up on the rooftop I heard such a clatter, I sprang to the window and threw up.
Go ahead, finish it.
What do you mean?
Finish it.
That's all I remember. I guess I had too many Tom and Dickies.
All right. Well, those were the days when comedians didn't have to use the F-bomb every other word, and they had just a lot of good, clean, sort of silly humor. But I don't know. That's just me. I yearn for some of that kind of humor. I think there's a few guys that are doing that. Nate Bargatze, I think, might be one of them. He's a name that comes to mind. There's some others out there. Well, don't forget, we're going to be talking about the year that was, the trends coming up in the future with Gerald Celente, and at 8:25, 8:05, Eric Robert joins us. In just a few minutes, Virginia Kruta, of course, from Daily Wire and from, of course, News Talk STL, in various forms and platforms, joins me on the Tobler Show, 314-912-1019. We'll be right back.
Hello, sunshine, come with me. Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Get charged up on the truth. Power Punch with Larry Behrens.
Everyone's talking about the $6 billion Joe Biden sent to Iran just about a month ago. As well they should be. But did you know he has opened up the money flow to Tehran for well over a year? He doesn't want to talk about it, but we will.
Power Punch with Larry Behrens. Saturday afternoons at 4 on News Talk STL.
Get more Power Punch at powerthefuture.com. Missouri Wild Alchemy is a local and family-owned business dedicated to providing consumers with high-quality cannabis and education. They strive to make customers feel comfortable and to help curtail the stigma of cannabis use by having a professional and well-educated staff. They're proud to carry products from several Missouri cultivators and manufacturers. Missouri Wild Alchemy, now serving recreational customers 21 and above, as well as patients. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit MissouriWild.com. That's MissouriWild.com.
When you help create a Make-A-Wish experience for children with critical illnesses, you create a turning point in their treatment and recovery. And suddenly, the joy of childhood that they've lost is within reach. Right now, there are over 600 children in our region alone who are waiting for their heartfelt wish to come true. Give the gift of hope and joy this season by texting the word WISH to 243725. That's WISH, 243725.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Then here's a great idea. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Yes, one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program and we'll come and remove your car for free. Fast, free towing, and 24-hour response. You can donate most cars, trucks, or SUVs in most conditions. The proceeds raised goes to help active military, veterans, and their families, and you get a tax deduction. All you need to do is make this free call. Get rid of that old car and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now and book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Donation Program now. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Operators are standing by. Here's the number.
800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. That's 800-925-1596.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time.
Welcome back to the program. We're trying to get in touch with Virginia. And maybe she's snuggled up in her weighted blanket. And as I understand it, there's something it lulls you into wonderful, sleepful bliss. We talked to Gene, who calls in. Happy New Year, a little bit early, Gene. How you doing?
Good. Happy New Year. Couldn't hear you there for a second.
Oh, what's going on, brother?
Hopefully we can throw 2023 to the dustbin and start working on burying Marxism. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the Mizzou family on hitting the Cotton Bowl win there.
Yeah, but I was worried about him at first. It was like the most boring game of the century until Mizzou finally figured out how to crack into that Ohio State defense. I wonder how that game would have gone if the Ohio State starting quarterback, who was actually sort of the backup quarterback most of the year, but I guess the other guy went to the portal and that meant he couldn't play, and so. But he was a much more versatile quarterback, so they had the third string quarterback in for a good 3/4 of the game. Wonder how the game would have gone if they had a different quarterback.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wonder how it had gone.
Yeah, I caught your commentary about that, and just briefly, I think that first stringer hopefully has kind of wounded himself in his little sensitivities for a professional career, and it really boosted the potential career of the gentleman that took the job as the third stringer that showed him up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, well, all the best to you in the coming new year. Look forward to talking to you more as we go through this very pivotal year. Thanks very much, Gene.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
Pass on best to Helly and the family.
I will do that.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Virginia Kruta joins us now. Of course, you read her on Daily Wire. You hear her on News Talk STL. You read her stuff all over because her stuff is very good. It's wise, it's broad spectrum, and it's deep analysis. How you doing, Virginia? How was your Christmas? Everything good?
Oh, it was great. I'm recovering from a bit of a head cold now, but I'm good.
Yeah. Well, the way I explain it to people when they express their condolences when you say you're down. I had a little virus on Christmas Day. It exercises the immune system. It's a good thing to keep your immune system tuned up now and then. So it's not a bad thing. There's a silver lining.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. You just don't like to do it on Christmas Day.
No, you're right. Well, although my wife loves to watch Wonderful Life. We have to put plastic on the couch because she cries about the time the angel thing starts happening.
Oh
the
my
tears
goodness!
Start flowing. Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about this, but the history behind that movie makes you watch it in a whole different way. I don't know if you knew what Jimmy Stewart was going through before. He had just come back from the war. He was a pilot, I think a B-24 pilot, and he led a squadron over Europe. And after flying 20 missions, he became what they call flak happy, which grounded him. It's like PTSD. And they grounded him, and he came back home, and he went home to Pennsylvania and was just lounging in Pennsylvania for a few weeks. And then he thought, you know what, I need to go back to work. And so he went back to Hollywood, but he was so stressed out and he wasn't eating and he looked like hell and no one would hire him.
Yeah.
But he was desperate to do a comedy. He's like, after all this war, we just need to laugh. And he wanted to do a comedy. So he's couch surfing, living with Henry Fonda, who just came back from a tour in the Pacific. And they're just kind of kicking around Hollywood and no one's coming up with, no one's giving him any roles. And Frank Capra came to Jimmy Stewart and said, you got to do this movie. And he read the script and he's like, that's depressing. And he walked out of the first meeting, was angry, just didn't want to do it. And after a few weeks, he wasn't getting any more offers. Capra came back to him and he said, Jimmy, you're going to do this movie or you're going to die. Because he was essentially drinking and smoking himself to death. And so eventually, obviously, he did do the movie. And I was thinking about it while I was watching this. While I was watching it this year, there's that iconic line from the angel, I didn't fall in, I jumped in to save you. because I knew you'd
Yes.
come in after me and you'd rescue me, and then you wouldn't think about killing yourself. In a way, I think that's what
Yes.
Frank Capra did to Jimmy Stewart.
Wow.
He didn't fall into this movie. He jumped in to save Jimmy. And they'd worked together before on You Can't Take It With You in 1936. Jimmy Stewart had just won an Oscar for 1940's The Philadelphia Story before he went to war. So he knew that this guy had it in him to do this role. And he went after him and said, you have to do it. And he hounded him until it got done. And you can really, when you watch the movie, you can see the PTSD kind of bleeding through the screen.
You can, but you can also see you can see the redemption and the embrace of grace and redemption.
When he's at the bar and he's praying, and he says, I'm not a praying man, but show me the way. You know, when he started crying in that scene, that was not scripted.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that. Well, and you know what? That explains, I think, the authentic joy at the end of the movie too. You know what I mean? He was.
It really does.
What is that? What's the method of acting when you actually become your character? You know, the guy that originated
called method acting.
Method. Well, I think of the guy that we saw Jesus Christ Superstar at the Fox years ago. What was the guy's name? Ted. At any rate. And
I don't know.
We happened to be exiting out the side of the theater when all of the groupies were out there, you know, all the real diehard fans. And he came out, and man, it was scary. I mean, I think he was method acting. I mean, maybe to a fault. You know what I mean?
maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so the movie kind of takes on its own personality when you know the history behind how it was made and what was, you know, really going into all of this. And, you know, Frank Capra actually was a World War I and World War II veteran. He was an Italian immigrant who earned his citizenship fighting for the United States in World War I. The director was.
So there's so many thoughts about what you've just explained. I mean, Capra, Fonda, Jimmy Stewart, the people who do great things tend to keep doing great things. You know what I mean?
Well,
people
Jimmy
of deep
Stewart
constitution do that.
He knew that the war was coming, and in 1939, when he bought an Army trainer plane because when we went to war, he wanted to be a pilot. So he bought a plane in the late 30s. He took a trip to Europe to kind of get a lay of the land, and he knew because he knew it was coming. And then he enlisted, and they refused him because he was too skinny. And he had to get a doctor's note saying that he was just naturally thin in order to get in.
Wow.
And he made it.
Something
He went
else.
from buck private to major in like 2 years or something ridiculous.
Wow.
Because he had prepared and trained himself to fly. He actually continued to serve in the reserve. I believe he flew over Vietnam as a volunteer. He was not a combat pilot over Vietnam, but he flew. His last flight was in 1968, I think, in Vietnam, and he made the rank of brigadier general before he retired.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about
reserve for
Capra,
decades.
you think about Capra sort of grabbing, you know, Jimmy Stewart by the neck and saying, you know, shaking him and metaphorically, hey, you're going to do this. That's what friends are for, to bring back an old Dionne Warwick song. And I'm, you know, my wife, my greatest friend and my soulmate, you know, she sometimes goads me into doing something I don't need to do, but she knows it's good for me. I think our very best, closest friends that really care often will push the edge with that friendship, at least superficially, when they're really helping you do something that you just can't see. You're blind to what you need. Don't you think?
Yes, I do. I think it's that tough love, you know, reminds you that, hey, maybe you need to, maybe you don't want to do this, but you need to.
All right. Now, just after we get talking about these great, iconic American Hollywood heroes, I read your story on the Daily Wire about John Cleese, who's a terribly funny man. And I mean, my wife and I, we grew up with Monty Python, watching that on Sunday evenings and
Oh my
just
God,
loving it,
yeah.
you know.
Me too.
So
And
he
Faulty Towers.
implies that, yeah, Faulty Towers. So now he implies that in a tweet that maybe Hitler was preferable to Trump. What?
Here's the thing. In a way, I think he probably meant it as a joke, but it kind of fell flat because so many people are doing it for real. It would be one thing if John Cleese was the only one making that comment, and then it would be like, okay, yeah, this dude's joked about Hitler before. We get it. You know, maybe it's not funny to everybody, but it really did fall flat because he's like, okay, 5 reasons that Hitler was preferable to Trump. And then he ends up listing 6 because obviously there are so many good things about Hitler, right? And
yeah, right.
And then he's like 5 reasons that Trump is preferable to Hitler, and he could only come up with 2, and that was the joke that there are actually more things about which, you know, and they were ridiculous, and you could tell it.
Well,
was
that's the
tongue in
thing.
cheek, but at the same time,
Yeah,
it
the thing.
fell flat.
The 5 ways he lists the 5 ways that Hitler was preferable. He fought for his country, never used a teleprompter, nice to dogs, wrote his own books, never played golf, wasn't a big fat slob. So I mean, he wasn't suggesting that the abject evil that defined Adolf Hitler was somehow his best qualities.
Right.
So
And of course, what he said what was preferable about Trump was that he didn't commit genocide, obviously.
yeah, right,
so,
right.
And so like the imbalance is what's and
yeah.
You know, I almost wonder if he meant to present it in a different way. Like he meant to say, you know, you guys are idiots if you think that it's preferable to be nice to dogs than to, you know, the balance is he didn't commit genocide, guys. Like, how are you making, I wonder if the joke was meant to be like, how are you making this comparison? Because there are so many people comparing Trump to Hitler. But
you're right. I think so.
But because of the way that it was presented and the climate in which it was presented, it was like, oh, well, John Cleese thinks that Trump's worse than Hitler too.
Well, that's just one of the many things that you can read from Virginia Kruta. And Virginia, once again, we've run out of time way too soon. But we look forward to talking to you in the new year. Hope you have a healthy and happy one and a great celebration tomorrow. Thanks for being with me again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. And great story about Capra and Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. Wow. That's what I love about the show. Eric Robert on the money coming up. Stay tuned.
St. Louis's exclusive home of the Dan Bongino Show.
You find yourself in jail for 20 years to hide from liberals who they really are. They are passionate about talking to your kids about sex. They are passionate about childhood castration, passionate about late-term abortion, passionate about sticking men in women's sports and the fundamental unfairness of it. And they know that sane people all over the world are rebelling against this absolute insanity.
Dan Bongino, weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tim Jones here for Rockwood Charcoal. If you love to grill as much as I do, I'm sure you prefer using charcoal over gas. Ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, we're not using anything else. Rockwood's made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and can be found in stores all across the country. It's the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal there is, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business right from my hometown of Eureka. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
Hi, it's Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. And there's nothing more dysfunctional than the holidays. Crowded malls, drunk relatives, and of course, the holiday fruitcake, who I refer to as my Uncle Bob. So join me and my buddy Joey B this Saturday, won't you? Hey, it's better than kissing Grandma under the mistletoe.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday evenings at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you this holiday by LiberalJoke.com.
In 2017, our daughter Angelica Hale remarkably sang her way to the finals, but the real miracle is that she even made it to the stage.
When she was 4 years old, she developed an infection in her lungs. We didn't know what happened or why she was suddenly so sick. Thankfully, her doctor knew. It was sepsis.
Sepsis is the body's overwhelming response to infection and requires urgent medical attention.
We
want to help others recognize sepsis so they can get the treatment they need fast. When it comes to sepsis, remember, it's about time. Watch for T. Temperature. It could be higher or lower than normal. I. Infection. You may have signs and symptoms of an infection. M. Mental decline. You could feel confused, sleepy, or be difficult to rouse. E. Feeling extremely ill. You could have severe pain or discomfort.
Take the time now to learn more at sepsis.org.
Nothing offers an opportunity to bond and give thanks quite like breaking bread together. This is especially true as we welcome our troops back home and keep those who are still stationed overseas in our hearts. Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. Since 2011, the Gary Sinise Foundation's Serving Heroes program has shown gratitude to our nation's defenders and their families by serving up nearly 500,000 hearty classic American meals at travel hubs.
HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew with Washington. Maine's top election official could face impeachment in reaction to her decision to remove former President Trump from the state's primary ballot.
GOP State Representative John Andrews calls the decision by Democratic Secretary of State Shannon Bellows, in his words, hyper-partisanship on full display, and he vows to pursue an impeachment despite a Democrat-controlled legislature. Bellows, for her part, noted she suspended her decision pending an anticipated appeal. Earlier this month, the Colorado Supreme Court removed Mr. Trump from its ballot.
That is George Williams reporting. An important military study is now underway.
Documents show the risks toxic substances posed in the underground capsules and silos where Air Force nuclear missile crews have worked since the 1960s. Now many of those service members have cancer. The toxic substances were recorded in documents obtained by the Associated Press through Freedom of Information Act requests.
That is correspondent John Scott reporting. High surf warnings are still in place for much of the California coastline and will be over the weekend as huge waves are forming up from a big storm brewing out in the Pacific. We get the forecast from correspondent Jackie Quinn in this report.
While authorities have closed the beaches in Ventura County, crews are building giant sand berms in the Pierpont section, where a huge wave injured several people Thursday. In Santa Cruz County, that rough surf sent water rushing into the Venus Spirits beachside restaurant. County officials are telling residents there to be ready to evacuate if needed. The powerful surf, also hitting Hawaii, is being whipped up by the stormy Pacific Ocean. Waves could be as high as 30 feet this weekend in Northern California. I'm Jackie Quinn.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
In Dinesh D'Souza's new blockbuster movie, Police State exposes the government's plot to control MAGA conservatives.
These are anti-government.
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech.
Violent extremists, and they must be dealt with.
MAGA Republicans threaten the very foundation of our republic.
Mass surveillance, censorship, and armed attacks. There's nowhere to hide.
FBI, we have an arrest warrant.
15 marked units on my property.
Military-styled soldiers pointing an automatic rifle at my head.
Are we becoming a police state?
It may be the Russia other people grew up in, but not my America. Directed by Dinesh D'Souza, Debbie D'Souza, and Bruce Shuey. Police State sounds the alarm.
What we need is a person, and then we go find out what crime you did. How did we give the state this kind of power?
Police State. They have their lists. Are you next?
If they're coming for me, they're coming for you.
Police State. Buy it or stream it now at Salem.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
This hour of the Randy Tobler Show brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the third hour of the program on this New Year's edition of the Tobler Show. And my good friend and one of the wisest people that I know in the financial realm is Eric Robert, who presides on the Stiefel on the Money show with Bob Stockdale every week. And I'm like the warm-up act. This show is the warm-up act, Eric, for the main event, which is the On the Money show at 9 o'clock every Saturday morning. So thanks for allowing me to warm up for you every Saturday morning. Appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me, Randy. And of course, I mean, what an act it is. You're a tough act to follow. I guess I'd put it that way.
No. Hey, I always love our little behind-the-scenes conversations. When I probably, and you can go ahead and say it out loud if you want over the air. I represent sort of your average layperson who doesn't really understand what's going on in the financial world? And I'll say, hey, look, Eric, I'll send you a news report like, oh man, it looks like earnings, the average family income's back up to where it was pre-COVID. Man, what do you think? And then it's like, no, it's back to class with Eric. And, you say, well, actually, they didn't mention A and they didn't analyze B. Am I sort of your average person who doesn't really understand the weeds like we should?
Well, I give yourself a little bit of credit. I mean, as a doctor, you certainly understand how to look at data, but then you also know how important it is to view data within context.
Yeah.
And that's what almost never happens whenever you're reading about particularly economic data and financial data in the news media.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about. I think a lot of us who were really, crying in our beer most of the year, looking at our 401ks, or if you're not really thinking too much about retirement yet, as far as, oh my gosh, it's upon me, but maybe you're 25, 30, 35, and you're thinking, wow, my portfolio's really sunk down. COVID took a big hit and then back. But man, the surge at the end of the year, what does it mean? Why did it happen? How do we explain that when I thought Bidenomics was bad for us and inflation was eating us alive and the debt's so bad personally and nationally? Why the stock surge?
Well, because stock markets are forward looking. And so the inflation that's already happened, the things that are in the rearview mirror, as painful as they've been and as difficult as they still are to adjust to for many consumers, the fact of the matter is they're done. And stocks in particular are priced on what we expect to have happen in the future. So you got to look at what's both happening now and then, to the best of our ability, extrapolate what that seems to portend for the future. And I don't claim to have a crystal ball under any circumstances. I can't tell you what stocks are going to do in the short term, but I can tell you the reason why they generally go up over a long time is because earnings over time tend to increase, particularly for higher quality U.S. companies. And in the case of why you've seen equity markets lift so much in the latter part of this year, you've seen inflation slow down dramatically. The October, November, and December CPI numbers and so forth have shown a significant deceleration in inflation, which suggests that the Federal Reserve may be able to back away from this higher interest rate environment, what's known as restrictive monetary policy that slows economic growth, sooner than investors were expecting. And we had some commentary from Fed members earlier this month at their last meeting and interest rate announcement of the year that suggested they're thinking along those lines as well.
We're talking with Eric Robert, who, along with Bob Stockdale, hosts On the Money, the Stifel show On the Money, right after this program every Saturday. And Eric, we're going to have Gerald Celente on, who's the Trends Journal guy, next segment. And he tends to be a sort of a doomsday kind of a guy. And I was reading his Trends Journal from just before Christmas, and he was, analyzing data from the international scene. Europe, Germany's economy slumping. China's certainly not in the best shape they've been in a while. And so I just wonder if you could sort of analyze America's economy and markets as it compares to the rest of the world. I mean, how are we faring? And is that sort of historically on average the way things go? And can we continue to count on that? Or what are the necessary conditions for America to prosper when the rest of the world may not be as prosperous?
Yeah, that's a great question, Randy. I mean, the fact of the matter is we all know we have a global economy now. So there, to an extent, the global economy rises and falls together. And that's why you see a pretty high correlation between what's happening in the U.S. economy and U.S. markets with those overseas. That being said, it's not the same thing. And this year shows a great example of that. The U.S. economy has been head and shoulders above most other economies in the world. These high interest rates with the Fed that I just mentioned previously, you have to take that into a context not just in the U.S. economy, in the U.S. market, but because the dollar is the world's reserve currency, our monetary policy has an impact on virtually every country and economy in the world, even those that aren't trying, even those of our adversaries that may not be trying to directly trade in our currency still have to deal with the reality that the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency. Well, what that means is when interest rates become very high, the dollar becomes very strong, which makes dollars expensive in overseas markets. You've seen that it's more difficult for them to, in some cases, import U.S. products, and it might make it easier in some cases for us to export or import products from those other countries. But overall, you've seen the U.S. economy growing much faster than the global economy so far. Whether or not that's going to continue, I mean, the U.S. economy is slowing, and that's by design. Fed policy is trying to slow it in order to tame inflation, but it's not been impacted as much as many of those other countries that you mentioned previously. Some of that's regulatory in nature. Some of it has to do with the nature of the governments involved and how they attempt to manage their economies. And some of it also just has to do with structural differences. The U.S., I would never bet against America. We've got the best natural resources, the best labor market, best technology, and the best companies tend to all be rooted here in America. So that's a difficult stack to beat.
I know, Eric, you have a couple of late Christmas presents, in terms of some fun things that are unfolding with IRS regs and different things that we want to get to that people should listen to regarding their own personal finances and some opportunities. But one more thing. I saw a report that Iran and Russia are not going to be trading with the U.S., or is it trading with the rest of the world in U.S. dollars to sort of, just extend off of what you were just saying? We keep hearing this, that China wants their currency to be the world reserve. Other countries are, trading with China in China's currency. is that all just rhetorical smoke and mirrors for their own domestic consumption, politically? Or is there something there that's a real threat on the world stage to us being the world's reserve?
I don't know how much of a threat it is to us being the world's reserve currency. If here's the thing. I am not an expert on Iran policy. Nobody's calling me from the State Department to determine how we're, handling sanctions or what have you. But when you look at the reason why, in this case, Iran and Russia in particular, are now wanting to trade in their local currencies, well, it has everything to do with U.S. sanctions as a result of foreign policy. And, if you make it, from the U.S.'s perspective, nearly impossible for them to trade or use those funds that they're accessing via trade because they have to go through international banking systems that are all at a high level regulated by the U.S. and its allies. I guess I would understand why Iran and Russia wouldn't want to participate in that as much as possible because they're trying to trade with one another. I don't see any evidence that it's a huge existential threat to the U.S. economy or the dollar's reserve status. If it was, I think you'd see more of a response from markets. This issue with BRICS countries and Iran and Russia wanting to trade in local currencies has been going on for months and months, and I'd say even years. This isn't a new concept, and yet there's a lot of saber rattling and fear in the headlines.
Wow.
It just never materializes to a market impact.
Okay, that's the thing. We get these reports, and those of us who don't really understand, like you said, the context and historically, that maybe nothing really new here. It's just being reported again. And okay, got it. All right, and I know you're going to be covering some of these things in the show today and in the new year, but inflation's really hurt everyone. I don't go to the store very much, but my wife asked me to pick up some stuff, and Eric, I couldn't believe it. I think it was a head of lettuce, some shaved Parmesan cheese, some stuff to make some Caesar dressing. I love Caesar. Thing of anchovies. I think there may have been a package of bacon, maybe a thing of milk. Erica, no, it was actually 1.5 of these little plastic bags from the supermarket. $35, my friend, $35. And yet I hear some of the apologists for the Biden administration saying, well, hey, inflation's down to almost normal levels. What do you guys, things are good. They're getting better by now. I mean, inflation has an impact. I don't see prices going down. So inflation has hurt all of us. It's there, but there's some silver linings there. What could that be?
Well, yeah, one of the silver linings with inflation is many of the contribution limits that we have for various types of retirement accounts, as well as our income tax brackets, are indexed for inflation. So that means when inflation goes up, the amount of leverage or the amount of flexibility that you have as a consumer may be going up as well. If you apply that to IRAs, for instance, your modified adjusted gross income, which is the maximum amount of income that you can have while still taking an IRA deduction, has increased or will be increasing effective next week from what is today for married filing jointly. If you have to earn less than $116,000 in order to get that tax deduction on a traditional IRA, that's now going to be $123,000. You see similar things for Roth IRAs. Those are tax-free retirement accounts, which are often great for younger earners or people who are in lower tax brackets. That for married filing jointly couples, your income threshold to contribute directly to a Roth was $218,000 for this year in 2023. That's going up to $230,000 next year, and you can contribute more next year. Now, because of the Secure Act, which you may have heard about over the last several years, now the actual contribution limit for various types of accounts is indexed to inflation. So IRAs that were in 2023 limited to $6,500 for your total maximum contribution per person, it's now going up to $7,000. That means it's more money that you can save on a tax-deferred basis.
Yeah. So the Roth IRAs aren't talked about a whole lot. Everyone thinks about sort of the deferred tax, regular 401k kind of thing. But the Roth thing is really something that, may or may not be the right thing, but it can be something that shouldn't be forgotten, right?
Absolutely. The Roths are one of the best planning tools for many Americans. So if you're younger, even if you're a higher earner, what you're doing is you're paying the taxes up front, and then that money grows 100% tax-free for the rest of your life. So the longer you can leave it invested in that Roth account, the more impactful that lack of any tax liability in the future can be.
Yeah. And with America's debt going up and up and up and up, and the service on that debt, I mean, can't imagine the taxes are going to be going down significantly over the next decades. All right, so New Year's coming, and I told you when you said you wanted to talk about this that I got to check with my wife. I think we have a little left over in some college savings accounts for the kids. There's some new opportunities there coming the New Year.
There are. So this goes back to the Secure Act again, effective January 1st of this year, or January 1st of this coming year, 2024. The leftover funds in a 529 plan. So 529 plan is a college savings account that many people have used to help fund college as well as K through 12 expenses in more recent years. Well, the problem was if you had those funds left over, college is all paid for, and you don't have another beneficiary to give the funds to. What are you going to do with them? You might have to pay penalties or taxes to use those funds for other purposes. Well, now, if you have a 529 account for a given beneficiary, it must be open for at least 15 years, and then the assets can be converted to a Roth IRA for that beneficiary. And that's a huge relief for many parents and grandparents who were reticent to put money in college savings accounts because they were worried what happens if the child gets a scholarship, if the child winds up not going to this particular school or not needing this money. Am I just wasting it or going to wind up paying a penalty? That doesn't have to be the case now.
Super good. And finally, IRAs. I mean, people want to try to, plan for retirement if there is a little extra cash laying around. When does that deadline come? Is it tomorrow at midnight for making a contribution for this year?
There are some accounts that are tomorrow at midnight, and good luck getting those deposits in if you didn't get them done already. But for IRAs in particular, traditional and Roth IRAs, as well as certain other types of retirement accounts like Simples and so forth, you have until you file your taxes or the tax filing deadline. So call it April 15th or sooner if you file your taxes sooner and don't want to have to amend them. So if you didn't get your 2023 IRA contribution in, or maybe you didn't get all of it and you didn't maximize it, you can still do that up until the point that you file your taxes for 2023. And same thing for a Roth IRA. There's also the opportunity if let's say you contributed directly to a Roth IRA, turns out you made more money than you were expecting to, so you're over that limit. If you work with a good partner, a company like Stifel, we can help you recharacterize those contributions so they're set up correctly before you file your taxes in the coming year.
Cool. Does this apply to the SEP too? Can the SEP be filed until, or contributed until tax filing?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. April 15th of the year following your contribution year, assuming that's your tax filing deadline. Hey.
Good to know, because I get a lot of anxiety this weekend every year. The day, January 30th, 31st, it's like there's so many things not to mention the gift cards that expire that are 2 years old or 3. You know what I mean? It's awful. Yeah. All right. Hey, Eric, thanks so much, man. What's on tap today on the show?
Well, we're doing our annual true up of all the predictions that were made about 1 year ago about where we were going to land with the market at the end of this year, and you get to see exactly how wrong all of those prognosticators are. And then, of course, a review of all the new surveys that have gone out for where we're going to be in the next year, and we can remind you to take all those with a shaker of salt as well.
Good. Yeah. Hey, sounds like a lot of fun. We'll be listening to you and Bob at 9 o'clock this morning, right after the show. Thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate it. You and yours have a healthy and happy New Year. All right. Take care. Coming up, Gerald Celente from the Trends Foundation, publisher of Trends Journal. You won't want to miss this. If you haven't had some coffee, take it now because you're going to need it to keep up with him. Be right back.
Speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
At John David Jewelers, we invite you to enjoy the holidays with the ones you love. We look forward to servicing you in the new year. At John David Jewelers, we're in the business of making you look good.
In Frontenac, next to the Shack, or at johndavidjewelers.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash. Fantastic. Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hi, it's Thunder Stealer Ken Williams, and on behalf of the Vic Porcelli Show, I hope each and every one of you have an amazing new year, and I hope you keep it with us. And Vic is back on Tuesday.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Hey, it's
on
Vic
News Talk
Porcelli.
STL.
Come hang out with Ken Williams and me every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. Right now, it's back to the Randy Tobler Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Well, thanks for coming back with us. It's 8:26, and it's always a real pleasure and privilege to talk to Gerald Celente. And, of course, Gerald is the Trends Research founder and Trends Journal publisher. And, Gerald, thanks for being with me. I know it's a busy time of year for you as you review where we're at and predict where we're going to be in the future. Everything well with you, my friend?
Well, I guess everything's well, but everything is so sad when you look at the decline of this society and what's happened to this country. You know, I'm a real great. I loved the old jazz, you know, and I was googling some stuff up, and it came up with soundies, music, black music from the 1940s. Boy, you should see the way these cats are dressed, man, and the sound, the style, the rhythm, the beauty, the dress. And now you look at this society as a whole, and it's just gone down so it's so sad. You know, I just turned 77 years old, you know, and I've been around, and to see how what's happened to this country and where it's going, it breaks my heart.
Well, you have just a few years on me, but growing up in the music business and playing on dance band stages and Broadway musicals here at Fox Theater in St. Louis, I listened to the American Songbook, and I so much because that's what I grew up playing. And I think it spoke of a time when America respected itself. Americans respected one another. There were guardrails on behavior. And it seems like all that's gone out the window. And it's, hey, whatever I want to do, I want to do. I don't care if I'm climbing over you and stepping on you. Not doesn't bode well for us, does it, Gerald?
No, no. This is the way things are going. You know, it's not. Well, one of our top trends for 2024 is World War III. It already began when Russia invaded Ukraine, and again, people have no idea. You know, we've been writing about this stuff since it happened. The United States overthrow the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in 2014, and what led up to all of this. Nobody knows about the deal that was made between Gorbachev, the former head of the Soviet Union, and Bush Sr. That, quote, NATO would not move 1 inch further. That's a quote. And there were 16 NATO countries. Now there are 31. So we understand, totally against what happened, totally understand why. But World War III began with that. And now the Israel war escalating. And World War III, it's in front of our eyes. We got maniacs in charge in a country near you.
Yeah, it's crazy. I did want to talk a little about the economy because, we saw a lot of turbulence in this cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. It just seems like a smoke and mirrors thing to me. I don't know. I know I read about it, and I want to hear your comments from Trends Journal, but I read about it in the most recent one. But also the impact of AI. I mean, we keep hearing about this soft landing. Soft landing. Everything's going to be fine, folks. I'm reading in your Trends Journal what I've been thinking. We could be looking at a stealth recession or worse coming our way. What say you?
Well, on to the economy. It's as long as the lower they keep dropping interest rates, the cheaper money's going to be, and they're going to keep artificially building it up. And they lower interest rates in the run-up to the presidential reality show. Excuse me, and that's all it is. It's a reality show. And you look at who's the Fed head, Janet Yellen. Oh, what was her last job? I mean, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, rather. Janet Yellen. What was her last job? Oh, she was the head of the Federal Reserve. Wait a minute. You're telling me the head of the Federal Reserve is our Treasury Secretary? You see who's running the country? I mean, you got to really be deaf, dumb, and blind not to see this. So anyway, they're going to keep her in there. So they're going to keep lowering interest rates to jack up the economy. They want to keep the people in power. But that's going to be very bullish for gold. We think gold prices are going to skyrocket this year. Again, the only reason gold prices are weak, well, there are a lot of reasons. They rigged the market, and that's not a lie. That's not made up. That arrogant company called J.P. Morgan Chase was only fined, $900 million for rigging the precious metals market. This is back in 2018. Oh, they've only been admitted to 5 felonies. 5 felonies. Hey, I'm J.P. Morgan Chase. How much you want? Guys, get out of here. Here's a couple of bucks. Leave us alone. So, again, the bankster bandits are in charge. The military-industrial complex, the geeks, and the drug dealers. They call them Big Pharma, excuse me. That's who's running the country. So going back, the only reason the dollar is strong is because interest rates were so high. The lower interest rates go, the weaker the dollar gets, and this is going to be the beginning of the death of the dollar. The higher gold prices go. So that's what we see happening.
Okay.
And as for the economy, they're going to artificially juice it up. We have an article, one of the top trends for 2024 by Gregory Mannarino, Money Junkies Paradise.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. So you've got an economy where they've artificially changed the reality of the money supply and the amount of availability. We see personal debt going up and up and up, Gerald. Last year, I mean, we were 1.1 trillion in just credit card debt, and then last week, I guess it was last week, I saw what I'd already read in the Trends Journal about. You list a page and a half of businesses making massive layoffs. One of the prominent ones, Hasbro, 1100. Let's see, creative Hasbro. What does Hasbro do? They create toys. What does AI do? They create wonderful things too, they say. Is AI an existential threat to the labor market and ultimately our economy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's AI. We own you. I mean, we had forecast back in 1999 that the dot-com bust would happen by the second quarter 2000. It did. This is very different than the dot-com stuff because they were making up stuff back then. It didn't make any sense. This is real. It's real. As I said, there are four powers that run this country, and one of them is the geeks. They got this wrong. They misspelt it in the King James Bible. They said the meek shall inherit the earth. The geeks have inherited the earth. Look how addicted everybody is to their cell phones, the kids on everything. Again, when I'm talking about the decline of society, and you being a jazz cat and understanding what it used to be and the glamour and the bands, and now it's dead. Everything's synthesized crap. And by the way, why are you asking me these questions? How's Taylor Swift doing? All right, that's the mainstream media. I got to hear about this crap.
You're right. Okay. Well, okay. So as long as we're talking social media, our children no longer live in a real world. They don't go out and play. They don't go find an empty sandlot and do some, we used to call it Indian ball. Of course, we can't do that now. That was basically make up your own rules for some sandlot baseball, tape up your sticks and play some street hockey, and just, make some artificial nets. They live in their virtual world of social media. And now, deep fake, news reporters, anchors, the people that they're supposedly friend with are actually AI created. I'm concerned, man. I'm just concerned about what our kids. Yeah.
Well, here's one of our top trends for 2024: the synthetic devolution.
Oh,
it's a devolution of society.
Wow.
And it's in front of everybody's eyes. That's one of our top trends.
Yeah. Okay,
when Chat came out, I've been writing for 40 years, and I'm writing a thing, and I said to the guy, I said, put this in Chat. Boy, it came back. I said, wow, this is great. They made some good changes here. And then we kept doing it. Now we send out letters to our subscribers with the new, the Trends Journals are weekly. I can put it into Chat. The language that you're using and the references you are doing are not proper. 5 paragraphs of telling us how we should rewrite this in the way that they want us to do it. That's how much it's changed.
Yeah. Well, and who's going to know anymore what to believe, especially as we go into we say it every time that, hey, this is a really important election cycle. This may be isn't there really some truth to it this time, Gerald? I mean, this election cycle it could change this country forever.
Well, yeah, look at this. I mean, what are you going to vote for, Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck? I mean, look at a clown show. I mean, and I had enough of both of them, They're not going to – if Trump gets elected, the country will be so divided. If Biden gets elected, we got a dead guy walking. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. There's no third parties allowed. This is America that brings freedom and democracy to countries all over the world. While you got 2 gangs running the show for what, since the Civil War? And if you don't got a lot of dough, you can't run. Look at the money that these rich people throw in, and all of these PACs and all this other stuff. If you don't have a lot of dough, you don't go anywhere. And not only for the president. Look at the clown show that we had in the midterm elections in 2022. You got that little arrogant boy over there in Texas, Beto O'Rourke. Another clown show up in Georgia, Abrams. $100 million, both of them spent to run for governor and lost. $100 million.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this, though. So don't you think, though, that enough people share your disgust with the Uniparty that there might be a lane for a no labels or a Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I mean, you think it's just not going to happen?
I was supporting RF. I launched Occupy Peace, and I had a rally here last May. And Dennis Kucinich was his campaign manager, and he was our speaker. And I donated the maximum to RFK Jr. because he was against the Ukraine war and on, and the other things he was saying. And I spoke with him as well. and I got my money back because
Really?
he's totally supporting the Israel war. Made a comment that this is not the exact comment, but the Palestinians are the most spoiled people or something like that.
Ooh.
I mean, it's genocide being committed in front of our eyes. And again, as I said, don't call me an anti-Jew. I'm not anti-American because I hate Americans' wars. Because one of our top trends for 2024 is going to be, we call it Crusades 2000. And that's what's going on now. That other little clown boy, little arrogant, warmongering freak that couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag, Lindsey Graham, he called this is a religious war. Oh, it's a religious war? Why am I getting involved in this war? This is Crusades 2000. People have no idea about the Balfour Declaration. His Majesty's government, this is 1917, right after World War I, after they threw the Ottoman Empire. They got it out of there. The British moved in, right? Yeah. This is not the exact language, but very close. His Majesty's government declares the Jewish people can settle in Palestine, and we will do our best endeavors to achieve this objective. Hey, wait a minute. His Majesty's government, some murderous little clown over there in the UK. Oh, the sun never sets on the British Empire. We are slaughtering people all over the world. Who are you to declare this, what should go on in Palestine? Who are you to declare this? And then that's the beginning of Crusades 2000. And they're calling this a religious war. Well, I'm an American. Oh, by the way, I believe in a guy by the name of George Washington, whose farewell address warns the American people, do not become involved in any foreign entanglements, have no love for a nation, no hatred for a nation, because if you have either, you'll be a slave to that nation. Yeah, that's George Washington. Our founding fathers, this stuff has been going on for centuries, they said. We don't get involved in this. Again, the military-industrial complex. Look, they just passed a budget of almost $1 trillion as the country's rotting in front of our eyes. Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, a real man, 2-term president, warns the American people that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children, and here we are. Could you imagine if we put these trillions and trillions of dollars into this country and into research and development? Oh, we'd have a real clean energy, not this stupid EV crap. That's another one of our top trends, EV, FU. This is stupid junk. This doesn't solve anything.
Okay, so lots of problems going on. I can't recommend highly enough for folks that they check trendsjournal.com, get a subscription, catch on to what's going on in the world. Great analysis of where we are, where we're going. And Gerald Celente has been doing this long time, and it's been so fun to talk to you. I appreciate the visit today, Gerald. And hey, there's some good news, though. The electric vehicle sales are down. The dealerships are telling the manufacturers we don't want any part of it. There's some good news there, huh?
Yep. We need a renaissance. That's what we need. Bring back the glory of America.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it so very much. Have a great New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
You too. There he is, Gerald Celente. He doesn't get worked up, does he? Let me know what your reaction is to Gerald's thoughts about our future. And if you need some Prozac, let me know. We'll just sign up with Body of Health and we'll get you taken care of. 314-912-1019 as we wrap it up here on the Tobler Show. Stay there.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile.
So when you're mobile, stay mobile.
Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield is so luxurious you might think you have to be a member. You don't, but you will quickly see why Lit won the 2023 Riverfront Times Best Smoking Lounge, Best Smoke Shop for the second time in a row. Quality cigars, premium drinks. So join me at Lit, just off 40 in the district at Chesterfield. For special events, entertainment, always check the website, litstl.com. litstl.com.
Hey guys, Ken Kruger. I've gotten to know these guys really well over the last few years. Yes, St. Louis Bath and Renovation. They're the most trusted name in bathroom remodelers in the St. Louis area. In fact, if you need bathroom repairs, complete bathroom remodeling, or handyman services, call St. Louis Bath and Renovation at 314-477-6476 or email Rob at stlbr.com. That's St. Louis Bath and Renovation.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLAFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns. Whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today, solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting serenityltc.com. That's serenityltc.com.
Imagine a world where hands reach out to help one another and to help our first responders. Did you know that a recent study by Western Connecticut State University reveals that with each hour spent volunteering, your own happiness goes up by 16%? If you've ever wanted to be the spark, the change maker, the time is now. Volunteer a few hours with the David Dorn Foundation and ignite a new day for police officers and first responders. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer. We're waiting to hear from you.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Three 314-912-1019, the number here on News Talk STL. Hey, thanks for being with us all year. Station continues to just exponentially grow thanks to you, the support of our sponsors, obviously station management, who and all of the folks you hear that just have so much investment in their various different ways in what you hear on the airwaves here, and really appreciate your support. There's just nothing quite like talk radio, in my opinion. I was talking with someone that had heard me talk about Jordan Peterson, one of my favorite psychologists. Well, he's my favorite, one of my favorite intellectual guys that you hear on the Daily Wire. You hear, and he's got a podcast, and you read his book, 12 Rules for Life and stuff. But he was talking with a woman who wrote a book called "This Is Your Brain on Birth Control." But at any rate, he said the three advances in the 21st century, the 20th century, were the transistor and the birth control pill and the atomic bomb. But the transistor, I remember as a kid, I would put the little transistor radio under my pillow and sneak it under there. I hope my mom's not listening now. Dad might be listening in heaven. I don't know. But Mom, I don't know. Hope she's not. Well, it's no secret. They would catch me, when I was supposed to be sleeping after the homework was done, listening to the Cardinals, listening to whatever on talk radio. And after that, it was, Art Bell or some of the great talkers that you heard overnight. So we thank you for supporting talk radio. Hope you enjoy it as well. Nothing like the spoken voice. You can have all your digital. I love it. You can watch us on YouTube and on Facebook, and you can do the Twitter. And I'm at Randy Tobler MD. That's great. But sometimes it gets in your head, and you get distracted because there's so much coming at you. Whereas you and I having a conversation is very, very cool. Appreciate you listening. So there was some good news out of the Trumposphere today. This week. And here's what Donald Trump had to say about his thoughts about education policy should he be elected. Listen.
As our nation has seen for the past 3 years, the need for freedom in education has never been greater. And that is why, as your 47th president, I will fight for parents' rights and universal school choice in every state in America. And we will win. Countless studies have shown that school choice increases school accountability to the parents, and it leads to higher graduation rates, lower costs, higher test scores, safer classrooms, and greater parental involvement.
There you go. I mean, that's the kind of rhetoric, along with border security rhetoric, and basically espousing parents first, children first, gummit out my way. You know that gummit. They get in our way all the time. When it comes to education, but government in the way of illegal aliens trying to come across the border, right? I mean, there's a proper place for government when it comes to defense, border security, law and order, a court system that actually works but isn't weaponized against the opposition. That's been another major trend. We didn't get to talk about that with Gerald Celente. By the way, I had to talk. Jerome is still with us. I had to talk Jerome off the ledge. After listening to Gerald, he's a young man, started, on his way up here in his career and in life. You're okay now, right, Jerome? I had to spend most of the break talking you off the ledge there.
I'm okay, all thanks to you.
Okay, well, I mean, I was worried about you because Gerald, man, you listen to Gerald and you think the sky's falling. Christ. But there is hope. I mean, we elect people who recognize the proper role of government. We should elect them. This is the cycle when we need to do it. And that everything works out well. The citizens agree to elect a central government, whether it's a local central government, a state government, but a government with authority over our lives to maintain a civil and ordered society. But we restrict the impact of government on our lives, and we've lost our way that way. It's just the compass is spinning wildly, just crazy, like one of those Twilight Zone movies. But you hear people like Trump say, like, okay, yeah, we got to have our borders. Without border, you don't have a country. Check. Education choice. Check. So good for him. Good for him. And I think people maybe with the right messaging, and if he can stay out of his own way and go over hyperbolic off the roof, just crazy some of the stuff he says, I think there could be a good way forward for him. But look, people are ready for some change. Pessimism is at record levels, according to a CNBC survey. Here it is.
Those who are optimistic now and for the future, just 15% now. And for the year, now, by the way, this is up a little bit on the quarter, but this is the year for the average. 66% being pessimistic now and for the future is a record high in the 17 years we've been doing this. So we've never found people more depressed.
Okay, I mean, it's a problem, right? I mean, people are just, maybe the inflation is settling down, but what about the impact of profligate government spending? Yes, during Trump's administration, the Democrats are right there. Democrats and Republicans locked arms, decided to just print money, borrow it from China, whatever it took to just give people money. Now, when the government damages a small business, when a government puts you out of work on government fiat policy, after a government-sponsored lab lets things go crazy in China, yeah, right. Yeah, the government owes you some recompense. Absolutely they do. But why did people who kept on working need money? Why did anyone who wasn't directly and materially harmed by the government need money? Money flowing like water out of the spigot into everyone's bank. Well, not everyone's bank account. Another redistributionist policy. We got a caller, Jerome? Saw you on the. Who's on the line?
We have Mr. Ray calling in. He'd like to talk to you real quick if we have the time.
Yeah, we do. And by the way, hey, I have to give, Mr. Ray, good to talk to you, but I have to give a shout out for Nash, who called earlier. We were talking about Wonderful Life and Jimmy Stewart's movie. And he reminded us that, Nash reminded us that Mr. Kruger's Christmas is a great Jimmy Stewart movie. It's actually from 1980. I believe, I checked it out. You can stream it on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime Video, by the way, right now. And I'm probably going to do that this weekend, Helene and I. So we'll do that. Go ahead, Mr. Ray. You got about a minute, my friend.
Well, hey, Randy, I'm actually you named me John the First many years ago. So, first of all,
how you doing, John the First? How you doing?
I'm doing well, as usual. So I hope you and your family are doing fine. Have a great Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah. And hey, basically, you and I have talked many times and disagree on about everything. We can talk border control, right? You know, what happened to the wall that Trump was going to build and Mexico was going to pay for? And I totally agree. No open borders.
Yeah, he didn't deliver on that. Now, he met some obstruction from the Congress. But you're right. He didn't deliver on that because Trump overpromises. He overpromises and underdelivers.
Well, okay, on everything. So here, if you want to stop people coming across the border, there's a reason why they come across the border. Some of it's policy, but most of them are looking for jobs. A lot of the illegals will work for companies that are willing to pay them under the table. So until we start cracking down on businesses that knowingly hire illegals, there's still a reason for them to come across the border.
Okay.
So
great.
you do that,
Thank
and you
you,
do
John.
that with signs. Go ahead.
Thank you very, very much. Look, I think you and I agree wholeheartedly. There's a toxic bedfellow relationship between big ag, big corporate America, some small businesses that want cheap labor. This is George Bush's fault. This is also the minimum wages fault for raising wages so high for entry jobs. They shouldn't be that high artificially. But anyway, hey, we were out of time. Happy New Year. Hope you'll touch base with me in the future. Thanks very much. All right, that wraps it up for the Tobler Show this edition. We wish you and yours the healthiest and happiest of New Year's. Remember, faith, family, freedom, and a return to our constitutional roots are the way back to true north for this country. And we'll be keeping an eye on them in 24. Hope you'll join me then. Thanks, Jerome. Thank you all. See you next time.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Moved here from Indianapolis. Decided to find a conservative talk show.
Live and local.
It's the Kim Gardner question. Yeah. Is this just incompetence or is there malice behind this?
This is News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christina